Hello, everyone. We are Easy Allies, and we spent a lot of time this weekend at PlayStation Experience.
Thanks to passes provided by Sony.
Passes provided by Sony.
No. PSX Access provided by PlayStation.
We don't exactly have to say that. We just have to say this thing, but whatever.
Oh.
We just have to
That's
acknowledge.
really hard to say.
The language in the email was very specific.
It was very specific.
Sure.
PSX Access provided by PlayStation.
Huber and Ben are here, as is Brandon Jones. We're going to do this E3 style in which we just kind of go through each of the games we played, give our brief impressions, and move on. Just talking about games for the next 5 hours.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not 5
hopefully not.
hours.
Probably
but yeah,
not.
But yeah, it's just a good way for us to get through coverage of many people who played many games, which isn't easy. But yeah, we want to talk about games that we played. Fun game Monday. I'll tell you what, if I get home by 8 p.m., I will stream tonight, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so I played 3 games. Only 3 games at PSX.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a disappointment to me. I wasn't there yesterday, so I guess that was partially on me. But the games I played are
Saturday was a long day.
interesting games. Yeah, Saturday was a long day. All right, sorry. I don't want to start with my favorite. Let's start with
Your least favorite?
my least favorite. No, I don't want to do that either.
Start with your second least
So
favorite.
let's talk one I can at least share
We're gonna
with
figure
Ian.
out this rank
A
now.
game we both played. We both played Accounting Plus.
Ah.
And so Accounting is a VR game that people who have cool PC VR headsets are very familiar with already. It's already very highly regarded. Accounting Plus, what's new? Apparently it's over twice the size.
That's what they claim.
Yeah, but I believe when they claim this. By the way, this is a game by Crows and Squanch Games. No longer Squanch Tendo, now just Squanch Games. It's a crazy VR game. It's easy to say that. It is a comedic VR game that is actually funny. Most funny games that people think are funny are like I hate. Most funny video games aren't funny. You know what I mean? Like it's really
Right.
hard to be funny in a video game. Justin Roiland helps. There's a genuine funny voice in this game. Why is Accounting Plus twice the size? What was added? I asked a lot. I asked these questions, and basically what Michael, their PR guy, what he said was that this game was so successful that the team who makes this can do whatever they want. And so they just make their own calls. They just put things in games that they think would be fun or funny, and because they make so much money doing it, they have this freedom to just make whatever games they want. And so he's kind of like talking about how like you can get on a phone in this game, and Justin Roiland's recorded like an hour of dialogue that you can just sit and listen to if you have that patience. Just like weird ideas that would be very funny. Just secret rooms they know most people will never find, but they just make that the most intense parts of the game.
Was that the zoo one?
Just because, yeah, the zoo, yeah.
Did you find it?
No, I mean, I only played the demo.
It was a very
demo of this.
specific demo
Oh, okay.
that just does 3 little vignettes and then stops.
Gotcha.
Wow, you played the zoo? What's going on?
No, I didn't play it.
What do you,
I wanted
how do
to
you
know
know
about the zoo. They're
how do you
hyping the
know-
They
zoo
talked about the zoo
Yeah.
in your Game
I
Awards
was
for
not
like
paying
20
attention. I was
minutes.
not
Clearly.
I was not. Did they really?
You
That
were
was part of that
drinking with
talk?
that
Yeah,
French guy.
we were
Yeah.
theorizing that the being super hidden means that it's just like on the front of
Right.
the menu. Yeah.
No,
We
I
figured it's
actually-
either very hidden or very easy to find.
From what it sounds like, it's actually pretty hidden.
Okay.
It sounds like that's their kind of thing, is to just what if we just hide it and they just go off on things like that. So yeah, I mean, what I played isn't anything new to people who are already familiar with it on PC. Ian, you played it too.
I played it at PSX. I've never played it before that.
Yeah, you had a fast playthrough. You were like, I know where the seed goes. I know where the battery goes. I'm moving forward.
I mean, it seemed pretty clear.
Did you giggle at all?
Not really.
Oh, I was giggling.
I think it'd be funnier if I wasn't also listening to their PR guy talk while I was playing it.
Oh, were you?
Oh, I didn't know you could hear us.
I could definitely hear you.
Oh, okay.
Also, I was like,
Cut.
also I had like kind of had to sit there for a little while until I realized he actually worked at the booth. And he like put the thing, like helped me get the thing on.
Yeah.
I thought there was like no one at the booth. I was like, what's happening? It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Game seems funny.
Game's funny. I'm looking forward to it. It's coming soon. It's December 19th.
Can you tell me what you did in it? Like, I don't really know what you were doing in it. You know,
Yeah,
there's
Brad,
phone call.
because basically here's the concept, dude, is like there's this accounting VR app. that is going to make accounting easier. Is the premise, right?
Oh, okay.
But then you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and then the only way to bring yourself out of these like inception zones is to kill yourself.
Okay.
And so your goal in many of these worlds that you go into is to find a way to kill yourself. And so
I did not know any of this.
Oh, I know. You don't get that from the demo at all.
Okay.
And so we're in a truck. We're in like a getaway car suddenly, and you're just like, you wake up in like this getaway car, and they're like, why'd you do that? And so you're just like, you have to find a way to die inside of this getaway car, and so like you have to like kind of puzzle solve.
I just remember
Brad,
a lot of
pick things
yelling.
up and shooting. And
Right.
there's a lot of yelling.
Okay.
If you like, it's a lot of little vignettes, and if you don't like improvised sounding yelling, you probably won't like it.
Oh, okay. Don't know until you try it.
Don't know until you try it.
Maybe. Cool.
Moobot is wrong. Moobot says we've been live for 4 hours. Moobot, get a grip.
Get a
Yeah,
grip, Moobot.
I think that's counting Damiani's
Damiani's
stream.
stream.
Yeah.
Oh, we must not have gone down long enough.
Was Damiani live when we went live?
He was live
Yeah.
right
Oh, okay.
before us.
Jones confirms that Damiani was not live. Okay.
We kicked him.
So yeah, I thought it was cool. I'm actually looking forward to
Sweet.
playing. That's my kind of VR game where you just kind of sit still and interact with things, and there is like port to place to place.
I'm very surprised by this. You think that the main character of Persona 5 is too cool, so you stop playing that, and then you think that this game is funny. I'm surprised.
Why do you think this game is too cool? I mean, let's get into criticism.
No,
What's
I
going
think it's
on?
fine. It's just like I didn't expect you to like it.
Why?
Just seemed like something that's trying to be funny, and I didn't think you liked that.
Because of swear words?
No, just because it's an actual comedy game, and I'm just surprised.
I don't know how to take this.
I'm saying you're surprising me. That's all.
I think its comedy is about games. I think its comedy is about. It comes from a neat place that hasn't been too explored. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Its comedy is like about the absurdity of you being in VR. And
Post-meta.
It's very.
It's post-meta.
Is it post-meta? I think I would just call it meta. But
It's
like,
post-ironic meta.
It's a game that's very aware that it's a game, and it's aware that VR is weird and new. And I think that's kind of what it's actually about.
And like it seems like it's making fun of itself. Like it's saying VR is stupid
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know you
Persona
liked that
5
kind
is
of
good
thing.
is all I'm saying.
I'm saying it's good too. I played many hours of Persona 5.
Uh-huh.
Many hours.
Not enough.
What was your least favorite game?
There are two games I'm about to talk about next, which are both action RPGs that take place in the 80s.
Okay.
Great.
Isn't that weird? Crossing Souls and Knights and Bikes. So,
You're not going to tell us which one is your favorite?
I'm not going to, because then you know which one's my least favorite. I don't
Yeah.
want to trash on a game while we're doing game highlights.
True.
Okay, so Crossing Souls is developed by a studio called 4-Attic, but 4-Attic. Devolver is publishing that. That game, I'm going to say, like, the premise to get to it really quick is, like, it's like Stranger Things. It's like it's a bunch of teenagers in the 80s. Well, preteens.
Cool.
Preteens, yeah.
A group of preteens
Someone
in
was
the
telling
80s.
me about this. It has like a Goonies feel.
Very Goonies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goonies.
Sounds cool.
Where like it's like it's a bunch of kids doing off like adventures, goofy adventures. They got to go find a dead body. So there's a little Stand By Me. They swear like preteens do, so that's all right. The style is so good in this game. It's basically like a 16-bit RPG, highly detailed. Basically, just like when you wake up in your room, I don't think a Ghostbusters poster means much to us anymore in like, oh, cool reference kind of way. But, I like a game with details. I like a game with bathrooms. And so, like, when you wake up in a room that's like, there's a bunch of different posters and things and Ninja Turtles action figures around, I like that kind of thing.
Nice.
I like that level of detail. I'm not like, oh, cool at the references, but I like that kind of thing.
Realism.
And so there's lots of surrealism in the game too, because like the first buddy you find, the second party member, is like a nerdy boy scientist who knows gadgets and things, and that's his ability.
Weird science.
Yeah, and so when you're playing through the game, you switch through characters. Each character has different stuff to do in combat, like hand to hand, or one kid's got a baseball bat, nerdy kid's got a laser gun. Your little brother, who's not 10 years old yet, doesn't do anything, which is really funny. You can switch to him and he has no combat abilities.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's got a cool story about like seeing ghosts. You get a little pyramid that helps you see ghosts.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah.
Classic.
Knights and Bikes. My
Knights
favorite,
with a K.
Yes. My favorite game from PSX.
Oh, okay.
there
this
it
is
is.
made by.
I had a feeling. I was like, yeah.
Two people formerly from Media Molecule. Rex Kroll, probably most notably for his art and everything like that. This is a game that again takes place in the 80s, but like not in like a cutesy referential way. Just like more of a way to mine one's own childhood. And so you're on an island, I think around England somewhere, and the game's about it's another action RPG where it's about exploring and going through stories and stuff. But it's weird. It touches upon my favorite part of the South Park game, in which the South Park games are about imagination.
Yeah.
Like, it's the cute part of South Park that they're not really willing to admit to. Like, I love that these kids are just imagining things. I hate that the kids got, like, fart powers. But anyway, this is what that game's about. It's that same kind of thing. It's like, oh, we have this whole island. Let's go storm the castle. And so you go to a junkyard, but you can see outlines of it being a castle. And just riding your bikes around is actually just the mobility of it from just, like, a gameplay standpoint is so fun. You tap X to go, and you can do cool tricks and spins and things like that.
Sweet.
It's designed to be co-op, so there's two characters. If you're playing it alone, the other character will follow you, so their relationships clutch to puzzle solving and I think the story. And just it's one worth googling. The style in this game is so good. It's very visually appealing, and I just like the two characters. They're one's goofy and wacky, and the other's just cool, but both of them are unique in their own way. And yeah, I like it. It's a good game.
Sweet.
It's very fun.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah.
I want to see Huber play it.
Oh, I didn't do dates. Crossing Souls, February 13th. Knights and Bikes, far out, but 2018 at least.
Cool. Far out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Got the year.
I played Star Child in VR.
Me too.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Okay, I played some
Anyone
Star Child
else?
actually.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back at E3 though.
Oh,
And they
okay.
said they're it's the same demo.
I
but
think,
I'm
it was a
okay,
very
all right.
short demo. So
Yeah.
if you don't know what Star Child is, I think it did premiere at the previous E3. It is a 2D side scroller, but not 2D because they're going to put it out on flat 2D TVs, but also you can play it in VR. And it's still a side scroller, which is kind of fun because when you're playing it in VR, you can lean in and get really close to your character. You can look around, look behind yourself, see the environment, look up, look down. It's a little strange because it's just a flat, the character's running on the ground.
Yeah.
It's just a big room going that way, but she only stays on one
It was
path.
a very simple demo.
Right, very simple demo. The demo just jumps from room to room to room, and the rooms are from different places in the game. So you're just kind of getting a feel of various places the game is
Does it
going to
still
go.
have the cool intro though?
Yeah,
where
you
on
start in the
surface of
ship.
planet?
Yeah, you start on the
Goes
ship
down
and
the
then it goes
elevator.
down an elevator.
Very Super Metroid-y.
Yeah.
Very Super Metroid beginning. Yeah, it's and there were cool things with the kind of a bad guy
Yeah,
crawling
that
up
big
the
old.
bag.
Yeah.
It's neat. I really liked the VR aspect of it. Brought me in. I've never played a 2D side scroller like that where you've got the 3D visuals and the audio. You really feel like you're in it.
I would say it helped give a good sense of scale.
Yeah.
Particularly with that alien that's falling around. It's a really huge thing just in the background as you're just going crazy on the wall as you're kind of going through the level. Then you get to the end and there's just this big robot that defends you from it. It's going to jump
Right.
on and it just goes
and its big hand comes out and you
it just
feel
gets
tiny.
really close to your face.
It might have been my imagination, but as soon as the player character gets out of her ship, I swear to God, she looked into the camera, up at me.
Maybe.
So I was wondering if there is some kind of justification for you being there,
Possible.
like you're another robot or something. I think
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
They're hinting that there's a big second element to the game
Right.
that they still haven't shown us yet.
Like Mario
And I'm
64,
thinking it
you're
might
just
be
filming.
something like that, where you actually exist in the game world.
You're the bad guy.
Not the
Gonna
good
be-
guy.
We're going to be the bad guy. at
You're
the
another
end.
one of those monsters.
Yeah.
Maybe depending on what you do, your changes.
But
Whatever,
yeah.
the reveal, whatever.
That was about it. It was really simple.
It's very simple.
There's one part you take control of a drone, something flying around.
Very minor
and you do really
puzzle.
simply connect a line.
Circuits,
Yeah.
right?
And that
You're,
was it.
collecting
Yeah,
circuits
that was
and
about it.
electricity to travel through.
So
yeah.
I get the impression that it'll be some jumping around, walking, and some puzzles. There wasn't any combat,
No.
but she just got up into the giant robot, or it picked her up. I don't even remember if it put her inside.
I don't know if it
cockpit.
picked her up. Yeah,
It picked her up on his hand, and then it just showed the title. So somehow this big robot's gonna be your buddy. Maybe it's co-op. I don't know.
Much to be seen.
Much to be seen. Maybe you are that robot.
Maybe, yeah,
that
you
would
might
make a
take
lot of
control of the
sense.
robot.
Yeah. And then I played Donut County.
Yes.
Finally.
A bunch
yeah.
of us played this.
I played that.
Yeah.
Which full
Does anyone
disclosure
else wanna
for
hop
me.
I played Donut County.
Get up
You-
here.
Get up
Yeah.
here, get out of here, Kyle.
Okay. All right.
Kyle.
I'm friends with the guy making it, but I've actually not played it until
Oh, okay.
just the other day, which is funny. And I only played it a little bit because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. That's definitely one of those games you want to
Sure.
not play in a loud convention hall.
But that was a really small demo, at least, too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you could get that spoiled from that demo.
Yeah.
Other than the story setup.
What I love about it is immediately it sets the tone. The vibe of this game is phenomenal. The music is great. The characters all talk to each other. There's story in this game.
Yeah, there's way more
none
story
of
than
us
I
really
expected.
that.
Yeah, it's
that
not
was,
just
that was the spoiler.
it's not just like Katamari with a hole. It's there's story, and the way that a lot of the story in the demo at least is conveyed is through text messages,
Yeah.
and the characters text each other in a very
And
realistic
there's a
way.
weird little button where you can just quack
There's
at
a
people.
duck button. You could just hit the duck button
Quack,
over and over and
quack.
over again.
Just quack.
And like if you do it a bunch, the AI raccoon that you're chatting with will start spamming it too, and like you send ducks back at you. It's marvelous. Yeah.
It was my favorite game at the show.
Yeah,
Wow.
me too.
Well,
probably.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Nice.
Me too.
I said if I could take one game home with me, it would have been Donut County. Because, I don't know, there's been a lot of huge games this year, really long games, really heavy games, intense games. And Donut County, while it has the story, it's still, like, so soothing to play.
Yeah.
Like, the music is super chill. There's no time limit or clock. There's no, like, you gotta, get the hole bigger in this amount of time. It's just, like, kind of go at your own pace.
Yeah.
Which was just really relaxing, and I loved it.
Yeah, it throws in a few, like, kind of puzzle elements where
Yeah.
you don't know exactly how to get
Yeah,
through.
when-
There's, like, an example you get, like, a fire in your hole or something like
Yeah.
that to
Right.
heat up the blimp so it
Yeah.
takes off.
And the other one, there was like there was a level full of snakes.
Yeah.
And the ranger was afraid of snakes, so they had like a snake warning meter, like a fire warning meter. And and then one thing that's really kind of fun with the whole is like it's physics based, so you can kind of like you wake up the snakes when you go around them, but then like you can kind of like pop them into the hole and then move it a little bit to like flip them up in the air a little. But one of the snakes that you get is like bigger, and so its tail just sticks out, and then you can just start like interacting with other things in a level with the tail.
So it's not just a hole, it's a burning hole or a snake hole.
Snake hole.
But yeah, that game looks marvelous. Are we through talking on Donut County? It's beautiful.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We through?
All right,
Are you
Kyle.
through? Kyle's done. He's off.
Oh, Kyle's done.
You're Kyle now to loop
Cool.
back around.
Cool.
The other one I played was all right, hang on. Don't tell me.
Oh, yes.
Hang on, don't tell me. Firewall 0 Hour.
There
You
it is.
got it.
Yes, you
Yes.
did it.
We've all determined that this name is terrible because none of us could
Batman.
like hold it in our minds. Like we were always like, it's that VR one that had really crappy footage on the PSX presentation, and it's 4 people playing at the same time, and your SWAT team sorta. Anyway,
Yeah.
we played it.
Yeah, it's like kind of.
Firewall 0 Hour. Yeah.
PlayStation?
On the PlayStation VR. Yeah, very forgettable name, but it's basically VR
Like Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It
Yeah,
was
it's
actually
pretty
a
fun.
lot of fun to play.
Loved
The
it.
footage did not show this game well.
No.
We were all just like, woof.
Yeah.
But actually really fun. We played 2 rounds and won both of them. We were playing against AI, right? Or were those,
No.
was that another
I
team?
I
think
thought
there's
so.
another team somewhere.
I thought we were playing AI
Yeah, I
too.
played some real people.
Yeah, played real people.
well, we rocked those guys.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like a house, and there's like 2 objective points, I think, in the house. You get 1 point, and then you get to go up to the other point.
Yeah. And you're either attacking or defending.
Yeah, but I think like we're basically trying to steal the data.
You have to get to the laptop, start it to download, and then steal the data.
Yeah, and
Hence firewall, I guess.
Defend it from dudes. Which I was happy. I got like the final shot. The guy came like through the bathroom to shoot at you guys, and then like
Oh, yeah.
I saw him and
Oh yeah, because
got
the
him.
one time we won, Blood and I played in the same team. The one time we won, we won just because we killed all the bad guys, all the other guys. But yeah, played pretty well.
It uses the aim controller, the gun
the
thing.
big gun
So it's interesting
thing.
because when you put it up towards your eyes, you like actually are looking down the sights, and you kind of have to do that to really be able to hit people.
You could crouch, right? I forgot the button for that. Okay.
Was there a crouch button?
I wanted to crouch a bunch, but I forgot what button it was.
I had some close encounters on the stairwell with a shotgun.
Of course you did.
Oh, blasted some people.
Of course, you forgot the shotgun.
Yeah.
There were 3 loadouts in the demo that we played.
Yep. So the aiming is really, really good, but I thought the movement could use some work.
Yeah.
It's a
feel
little sluggish.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case with a lot of VR games.
Yeah.
The smooth movement wasn't implemented yet, because like Resident Evil 7 VR has smooth, and I forget the name for the other one, but it when you hit it, it moves you in angles. It's like
Stiff
30-degree angles. The reason they do that is because if you do smooth movement, it gives a lot of people motion sickness.
Yeah.
So if you suffer from motion sickness, then you want to do the
And
snapping
you
one.
can walk forward and backward, but even that, it's kind of like you feel like your body going woo.
So
Definitely, I found myself, whenever I needed to turn, I would do this, but then the guy was like, oh, use the thing because you're facing away from the TV. So I
Yeah.
definitely would use if you move the stick, your thumbstick, you go 15 degrees whichever direction. I use that to turn every time.
Yeah. So I think for like aiming, the controls are really super good because you can move around. But I feel like moving your character needs a little work. So.
You can run by holding in the left stick, the front stick, I guess,
Yeah.
on the gun, or move and walk without pressing it in. Yeah.
Had like the flashbang and stuff on there,
Love
the
the
frag
flashbang.
grenade.
Yeah.
on that
frag,
part, that was sweet.
flashbang.
Me and Brad are both a little too tall for the setup they had there.
Yeah,
Which
I was, like,
that's gonna be something.
Against the wall, pretty much, and I had to kind of like go down because it was on the bottom of the TV, and
Yeah.
the TV was
Oh,
right
Oh,
there.
yours was on the bottom of the
Yeah.
TV?
Yeah.
So mine was on the top of the TV,
No.
and I still had issues because what happened was there was some guy shooting at me from upstairs.
Oh my god.
And then I went to aim at him, and I lost track of my gun because I was above the camera.
Yeah, I kept going out to play area.
There's something so cool about just seeing another person like run across the courtyard and then you actually aim at them and
Yeah,
shoot at
that
them.
was really, yeah, it's really fun.
So I'm like ready for Heat VR.
Heat
you
VR.
know,
Heat.
where
Yeah.
like a couple people are the bank robbers, a couple people are the cops.
And then it all culminates in a car chase and then like a 30-minute dialogue scene by an airport.
Exactly.
Out in like a field.
And then you do a one-on-one duel
And it's like, where's my
at
daughter?
the airport.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do that.
Heat games.
Let's call up De
perfect.
Niro or whoever owns the rights.
or just do like Payday VR, same kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
Like cops and robbers
Yeah,
VR.
yeah.
And then I didn't play, but I saw, and it made me a believer, the Shadow of the Colossus remake.
Yeah, I
I
played.
played it.
You
Okay,
played?
yeah. Saw it
Anyone
on a 4K TV, and whoa, they did it. They found a way. Like when they were like, okay, we're doing the remake, I was like, all right, it'll be okay, but it'll not look that great, and it'll be blurry or something. Nah. That game looks beautiful, and I could tell by how people were like falling over and stuff. They didn't change the controls,
No, they
so
have
it's
changed
still
the
janky
controls,
and terrible.
but
Right, but you can go back to the other way.
You can swap.
Right.
Yeah, there's a more modern control scheme. The thing is like it still retains some of that feel,
That weight, yeah.
but it's not like because I remember
Right.
I went and replayed some Shadow of the Colossus like a year ago, and like I was like, okay, like I know it's gonna be a little bit of a stumbly whatever, but it's like, oh crap, this is actually really hard to relearn.
Right.
yeah, it took me like
Yeah.
a minute or so to get familiar with it
But
again.
with the new control scheme, like I didn't have that much of an issue
oh,
with
I
it.
don't know. I forgot which one I played. Control scheme wise, probably the new one.
But one thing that the producer told me was that they have 2 options in there for PS4 Pro. You can either do 4K at 30
Right.
or 1080p at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because, it's a trade-off, right? So it's like I would swap it and it's like, oh, that looks really good. And then I swap it back and it's like, oh, that looks really good.
Right, right. And that's only on the Pro, or that's on both versions?
That's only on the
Not
Pro.
Pro,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What the non-Pro is just the 1080
It's
60?
probably like 1080 30, I would guess,
Oh,
but I
wow,
don't
okay,
know.
yeah. But yeah, just seeing it, and for the demo in the press room at least, they must have had it where you could just pick any of the Colossi to
They
fight.
had 1, 3, and
3,
13.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So then I saw 1 is the kind of big guy, 3 is the flying
No,
long
that's
one.
13.
13 is the long one,
Yeah.
yeah.
13's the one.
I saw someone else fighting
3
a
is the
different
one that has the big, like, stone sword that you have to...
Yeah.
you have to make him smash the armor. And then 1 is just like, you ride the horse across the plain, and that's
Yeah.
like the tutorial one.
Well, either way, the fact that it's been redone, you could see details about the Colossi now that the flying one, for example, because the old game is beautiful, but it's like blurry and bloomed out, so you can't really tell a lot of fine details. And watching the flying one go above, the big long one, you could see it had like gas-filled ballasts underneath itself that like keep it aloft, and I'm just like, whoa! I was just like, it was blowing my mind.
So cool.
Anyway, that game looks beautiful, and I can't wait to feel terrible about myself.
Yeah. Well, one thing for me, like I felt like the Colossi all basically felt like these are better versions, but like there's, I'm essentially still looking at the same thing.
Right.
The environments was like structurally, architecturally, they were the same, but there's so much more detail and like the grass and vegetation, and the forest on 13 is insane.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It looks like
I didn't see
indoor,
the
dude.
forest.
There's like these huge redwood trees
It really
and ferns
feels like
everywhere,
It feels like they started over
and light
just
coming through
remade
the trees.
Because some remakes feel like, oh, they slapped new textures on it and called it a day. This feels like they just rebuilt the entire game.
Yeah, but the thing is like I said, architecturally, the way the buildings and everything, like they're the same buildings.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see people do side by sides.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Looks
I
great.
cannot stress enough how good it looks. It's crazy.
And that's all I
Visually.
played.
That's all you
That's
played.
it.
What about Brad? What's Brad
I
got
got
next?
a lot of stuff. I played a lot of games.
Hey, can I say one thing?
Sure.
Crossing Souls had really cool animated cutscenes.
Ooh.
Nice.
Nice.
And I just want to say, just because like it wasn't my favorite, like I only played 3 games at PSX, so just like because
Thank
even
you, Nick
like
Plus.
it was still like one of my favorite. Like it was a good of the 3. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to say it's a bad game.
Right.
Kyle, stop
Okay.
it. Brad,
Kyle's got the guilt.
say a game that Ben played, and I'll swap out for him.
I don't know what Ben played.
Or
Just
Brandon.
go,
I'll just go down the list.
Just go to the next list.
I played Wipeout VR.
I played Wipeout VR.
Oh, sweet. When I went up to it, they definitely
you play it?
pumped me.
You can only swap if you played the game being discussed. Them's the rules.
New rules, apparently.
I'm just trying to host like Kyle does.
Yeah. It's Wipeout. They were stressing to me, you might feel sick playing this.
Oh, really? Did they show you
I
that?
was like, I've never gotten sick yet, though. But it was pretty crazy when you like sit in the cockpit of that thing. You're just in there. He has like the controls. You're just looking around.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing is just like looking down and see your arms on whatever controls there are.
It was really fun. I really liked it.
How well did you do? Because my problem.
I did more than one race because there was no one there when I did it. I didn't do so well the first time. The second time I did a lot better.
Okay.
Because I hadn't played Wipeout in a long time, and I wasn't used to like the crazy speed and everything, and I was just playing first person. Then I started getting the hang of it. I had a lot of fun playing that game.
I think a lot of it is going to depend on the tracks because some of the tracks that I picked, there's a lot of this up and down, and like I was like, whoa,
The
what's
one
happening?
that had me do was only one track. It wasn't like an insane track though.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
could pick. It looked like I could pick like any
Okay.
track in the whole game. So I just it's like I had a hard time keeping up, and like I was bouncing into walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Just a hard game to play in first person.
Yeah,
on
I
the
really
more
liked it though. I thought it was
extreme
super
tracks.
fun.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good one to go with.
Yeah, I mean, it's Wipeout VR.
It's just-
nothing like brand new, but it was really fun.
It's just really funny to me that like they laid off that studio and then they keep releasing their games. It's just like, what are you doing, guys?
Yeah, other people doing it. I also played Last Guardian VR.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, try that out. Did no one else play that either?
I was thinking about it, but then since I'd already done a couple of VR things, like, I got a cool
It
little
was
VR
alright.
little.
It was like 5 minutes. You're just kind of in like the game. You assume it's the VR where you go to like a point. You know, there's like points you just pick you
teleport,
to go.
yeah.
Throw a barrel. You know, Trico gets it. Trico jumps up something and you just climb up his back. Then it goes to the part where you go outside and there's the wood planks and does the jump. You jump down and he grabs you. It was okay, but it was cool just seeing the world. Like the best part was just seeing the world. And the scale of Trico himself was like super cool because you go on his back.
It's cool.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, real simple. Also, took like 5 minutes to beat. So it's just a little slice, but it's free. It's coming. I think tomorrow it's out or next Tuesday, one of the days. Played Star Child, played Donut County, Shadow Colossus. I played Lost Soul Aside.
What is that?
So Lost Soul Aside is I believe it's Chinese. It's like a Devil May Cry-esque game, like crazy fast hyper action game. So pretty much puts you in like a battle arena. Oh yeah, Ben, you gotta get up here for this.
Ben is like all in now.
I waited in line for an hour, and then like the person.
Yeah,
left.
there was only 2
And I didn't get to
stations.
play.
I went back to the booth 3
Yeah.
times. I really wanted to play this
Yeah.
game, and the line was just too long.
It was way too
every
long.
single
wow.
time.
And I waited like an hour too, and then I was just like, all right, I gotta go.
But yeah, I really want to hear about this.
So pretty much throws you in a fighting ring with like your basic kind of guys in there, just small little dudes. You have I think you had like 3 weapons. You had like a normal sword. You had like a twin blade, like Zidane kind of weapon.
Everybody I was watching play the demo used the twin blades.
I was trying them all. Yeah, they were all actually really fun. And you had like a big sword or something like that.
I think everybody just wants to be Darth Maul. I think that's just
Yes.
like an unspoken
Yeah.
thing
Darth Maul.
that people want to be.
Super fast, quick dodging, a lot of that stuff. The dodging was kind of weird because you push X and square at the same time to dodge. But also block is L2, and I found out that block also makes you dodge unless it's a complete different dodge or something. So I was a little confused about that.
Is it like if you're holding block and then you hit a direction you
If you're
dodge?
holding block, yeah. If you're
Okay.
not moving, he blocks actually. But if you're moving and you push block, then he would dodge also.
Okay.
But it was cool. It reminded me of kind of like how we used to see like 15 back in the day, kind of Noctis just going around really fast.
Sure.
He was going really fast like that, which is really cool. Felt awesome. Camera was kind of bad at some points.
Okay.
When I got close to like a boss, like after taking out the smaller guys, a big boss comes out, and I kind of went under him. The camera just went like freaked out on me. The dodging sometimes didn't dodge exactly where I wanted it to go, but combat was good. The boss fight was hard, which is sweet.
Okay.
He had 2 phases, which is always nice. And I died because I forgot to heal. But you have a heal at the bottom. You just push down on the pad and you just pop a potion. Seems good, has potential. If they clean up some of the tech issues, it could be really good.
I feel bad like coming down on it since I haven't played it, but just the idea of pushing square and X to dodge.
Yeah,
it's hard
a little,
for me to...
little bizarre. I don't know why that was there.
Okay.
I heard one person is making this game.
I think it started as one
Yeah.
guy. It might be
Crazy.
more now.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. But I think it's supposed to be more open world, too.
Cool.
I didn't actually get right up in its face, but watching over people's shoulders, I thought graphically it looked very,
Yeah,
very
it looked
good.
great. Yeah. I think this
thought
game
the,
could be really awesome if they just polish it up. I'm not sure when it's coming out, though, so it could be a while. So they got time.
The animations, the hit effects, I thought all that stuff looked
Yeah,
really good.
it was fun, man. Yeah, they just
Cool.
clean up a little, be good. Let's see what else I played. Played this game called Mulaka.
Oh, right.
Mulaka kind of reminded me. It gave me.
They're like cavemen, kind of?
Yeah, it's from like South America. It's based off like South American folklore, I think it was, something like that. It kind of reminded me of like a PS2 game and the way that you just be in an area and you kind of do little puzzles to continue on through it. For example, a lot of what I did was like going in an area, then I'd be in like a fighting arena.
Okay.
The fighting is not great in it, which sucks, especially because I did a lot of fighting. But some of the moves allow you to turn into animals, Huber. For instance, if you do
Oh.
a double jump, you would turn into like a bird, and you kind of just glide around.
So cool.
And if you hold triangle, Huber, turn into a bear.
What?
And you smash
Why
the
didn't nobody
ground.
tell me this? I would have played it.
I don't know. That's why I said I'd do it, because I saw you could be a bear in it.
Awesome.
If something ever happens to Easy Allies and I meet you like 10 years later and you're like, yeah, I direct, the revival of Bloody Roar now. Like, I'm not going to be surprised. You just
Emphasis
fall
on
into
bears.
that. Yep.
Yeah, but I just did like a few simple things, like few platforming things. You throw your spear at a switch to like make a wind current so you can kind of glide a little more.
Cool.
And you get like a special. If you do really well, you can like do some crazy move that hits everybody. Seemed alright. We'll see how it comes along.
Sure.
But I'll check out more of it when it comes around, probably.
Got a Last Guardian VR update,
Yes,
December 12th.
December 12th, so tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 hours.
I played also a game called Aegis, which was a 2-player co-op side-scroller tower defense game.
Nice.
So what
okay.
I played as, you were a girl and her grandpa. So the grandpa was really good at building like turrets and stuff, and the girl had like a gun, so more close combat. You would go through levels and kind of do stuff to help each other get through.
Cool.
Then at a point, you would get to a tower, you have to defend it. So, for example, like the old man was building turrets, while I was the girl and I was putting like mines down and shooting stuff.
Awesome.
Pretty simple, but really fun, super addictive.
Brad, spell it, dude.
Let me spell it.
Aegis.
Aegis.
Straight up. That's
Just that and nothing
Yeah.
else?
Yeah.
Huh.
But it's fun. Then after that, there's like a little hub you go to in between missions where you can upgrade and get new weapons. There's like a bonfire you say that, like people to talk to. There's also 2 more characters you get down the line, apparently, they told me. But I think it's pretty sweet. Like, I thought of like us playing it when I played
Love
it.
tower defense.
And I played one more game. called Wizard of Legend. It kind of reminded me, the way it looked, it kind of reminded me of Hyper Light Drifter, the graphic style of it.
Nice.
So pretty much, there was two wizards, or it's two players, so you could be two wizards together. And I was going through like levels. You have a bunch of spells you can do really quick. You can customize, like I had a crazy fireball. Then I changed it out. I shot like wind or something like that. Super fast paced, like dungeon crawler roguelike. They told me it was a roguelike, and also the levels were, some of them were actually designed. So he said it was a little of both. So I was like, well, it's kind of
Cool.
cool like that. But yeah, just going through like dungeon crawling levels, getting loot, buying items. It kind of like, when you remember Crypt of the Necrodancer, you go through and there's like a shop under there. It's kind of like that, but just really fun magic. Two players, like you have a dash, you like dash over pits and stuff like that. And there was a cool boss fight at the end. It was pretty sweet. I'm actually looking forward to those two games.
Nice.
So yeah, it's all I played
fun.
there.
I like those.
Yeah,
sound
they were
good.
all pretty short demos, so I couldn't say a whole lot about
Sure,
them. They're
sure.
all like around 5
Yeah.
minutes maybe.
Quick hit, straight into the arm.
Yeah.
Adrenaline rush.
My first appointment was Guacamelee 2.
Nice.
Tell me about this.
Yeah,
Boy.
anyone else get in on that? No?
No one?
Oh, well. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play the co-op, the four-player, which a lot of people at the booth were doing. But I was able to sit down and play it with the developer, just kind of show me some of the details. They're saying that, since they're like targeting PS4 first, like they're, targeting the 4K features, and like they're also like doing a lot of new like lighting and other details, and like stuff like the grass moves when you go by it and all of that. They've also one of the main new like platforming mechanics. Do you remember Order of Ecclesia, how it had those like little rubber bandy points that you would jump to and then shoot across from there? You kind of launch off of those.
I do not.
Anyway, so it's sort of like that. So like you could jump up to one of these points and then you hit triangle and you kind of aim to launch yourself off of these. So there's a lot of like more intricate platforming things where like you might have to wall jump up to that and then shoot off. Or,
it kind of sounds like the forks in Mario Odyssey, where you're like you throw your hat and then you flick yourself. To
sort
a
of like
location.
that, or like Ori and the Blind Forest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also had something like that.
I need to play that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also had this mechanic where there were like these kind of like green tiles on the floor that like when you'd step on them, this like spiked pillar would come up.
Okay.
But then after a second, the spikes would go away, and then you could actually use the pillar to wall jump off of. And then with part of that, the enemies could also set off the traps. So just like you could work that into, how you're like defending yourself from enemies or managing enemies when you're doing combos and stuff. And even in the boss fight there, like you could use that because they would send like these waves of giant chickens at you, and so like you would hit the thing and like put up a defense against the chickens, and then you would wall jump up to the boss and punch him in the face while he's laughing at you. But when you change into a chicken now, they've made that so it's just as robust as when you play as Juan. So like the chicken can do combos, the chicken can dodge. It has the glide, like kind of hover, like kind of arc down. And then I also got a power up where like you can smash through these purple bricks and like open up other passages. Nice. And then the other kind of big thing they showed was, how there's like the living world and the dead world, like these alternate dimensions. So there are parts in the game where it's kind of like it's like the dimensions are moving across in strips. So like you'd have this strip of living and then a strip of dead. And so like there would just be like strips going across to where like you could see the like lava or whatever. And so like you'd have to jump over the lava, get into the strip, kind of chase it, and then go back this way and around and like try to get through, the level that way without like hitting the obstacles from the other dimension.
So is it like you have these strips and you can see part of the obstacle in your way, and so you just kind of have to, based on that visual information you're given, try to navigate around it even though you can't see the whole thing?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So like they're just constantly like moving across the screen in lines. It's kind of hard to describe.
Sure.
But like you're seeing both like sections of both worlds at the same time, essentially.
Cool.
Yeah, like it all feels, pretty good, pretty much like you would expect.
Awesome, like Guacamelee 1 did, yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think he was saying that like they at this point they think that it might be a little bit too big, so they're trying to edit it down a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So somebody was telling me that, and I'm pretty sure it was him.
So good it might be too big.
The second game that I played is Riverbond, which is the shirt here with this cat in the spacesuit.
Great shirt.
And it is voxel-based, kind of Diablo-style 4-player co-op game. Riverbond, yeah. It's one word, but just basically those two words, river and bond. Yeah, so just kind of think of like a Diablo or like even like a Marvel Ultimate Alliance or something where like you just going through levels together and just smashing the heck out of things and looking for treasure chests and kind of like Resogun, like anytime you hit stuff, there's just voxels flying everywhere.
Sweet.
One of the little details that I thought was cool is that when you're like mowing down the grass and stuff, that the grass will actually grow back after a little bit, and so like the world just doesn't get completely emptied out just because you've torn through it. And then there are and sometimes when you open the chest, like if coins pop out, it's just like a huge like gushing fountain of coins just flying all over the place. But some of the other things that you get are like you unlock various characters, so that like when you go to the next level, like you can swap to all new characters. So there's like a little dog, there's like a rabbit, there's watermelon, and I was playing as a donut.
Sweet.
So yeah, just running around as a donut with sword. Oh, and that's the other thing too is so you're usually like you have like melee weapons like swords and stuff.
Yeah.
But then you also on the right stick, it's kind of like twin stick shooter almost, where like you also have a gun that you can shoot, but it has like a limited like resource, so that like it'll run out and then you have to wait for a cooldown for it the gauge to fill back up.
They didn't say anything about making your own character, did they?
No, they didn't talk like you would be able to make your own character.
Because I'm getting very strong like 3D Dot Game Heroes vibes.
Yeah, there's some of those
this.
vibes in there for sure. And then we also, another fun little quirky thing with it is that one of the weapons that we got was just like this huge long drumstick. So you're just going around whacking enemies with a giant piece of meat on a bone.
Okay. So not
like
instrument drumstick, giant piece of meat.
Yeah.
Funnier.
Donuts
much
swinging
funnier.
a giant piece of meat and smashing pigs. Yeah. And and that's another thing you could do too, is like you could actually grab the enemy, like you'd knock an enemy out and then grab them and toss them out of the ring like wrestling or something. Yeah. So it's just one of those games to me that when I just like walk up and look at it, like because there's a lot of chaos, like I'm not sure what I'm looking at, but then when I actually get my hands on it, it's like, oh, this actually feels really good and tight controls. Nice. And I feel like a lot of those games sometimes that I played more recently, like I'll be interested in them at a first glance and I pick up the controls and it feels like something's off, and this one it's like, oh, this actually, this feels good. Riverbond. Kind
of a random question about Riverbond. You're talking about like the chaos and it feeling pretty tight. Is it something where you're moving pretty fast? Like what is the movement speed? Like how quickly are you attacking, that sort of thing?
Yeah, you're not moving super fast, but everything feels really responsive.
Okay.
You know, there's not like a whole lot of weight behind any of your attacks.
Okay.
It's just
so it's about attacking a lot very quickly. Okay.
But I noticed what like sometimes when you knock guys to the ground, like your sword is like swinging over them as their body is lying down, so you either have to grab them and toss them, or there's also kind of a slam move that you do where you're like ground pound and it like does a big area of effects attack.
Yeah.
That you can hit a lot of guys at once that way.
Cool.
What else did I play?
What do you got, bud?
I played Anamorphine. I thought Ian had played some of the... Oh, you just talked to the guy.
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing.
So A-N-A and then the word morphine, but it's all one word. It's more of a... I guess if you... I wish I had a better word than walking simulator, but walking simulator is the word I have.
Any other word?
What other word do you want? You don't interact...
How about a video game?
Video game, sure. But you're kind of walking through this person's memories, or it's kind of like abstracted and stuff, and so, and it's, in a way, it's kind of like how Evil Within 2 has those moments where you like walk up to something and then all of a sudden like your perception of reality kind of changes. And so you kind of start off, and it feels like you're in like a little bit of a closet, and there's just some like knickknacks and mementos of stuff from their life. But then there's like these, I don't know, they're like spaghetti-ish pathways that lead to some like dimensional hole, and then you walk into like a memory of their apartment, and you see, it appears to be the character's wife, who's like playing a cello or whatever, and then as she's playing a cello, then you like transport to a theater, and so there's like a lot of this where you're just you're piecing together like what's happened to these people and to the and in their lives, but yeah, there's like a lot of moments like that where when I got to the theater, like it was just completely empty, and then I just walked where I could walk, and I like ended up going up to the balcony, and I got up to the balcony and I looked out, and then she was on stage playing with some other musicians, and then I turned around and was like, oh, the seats are all full of people right now. And then there are other times where I'd be like looking at something, and all of a sudden like it would freeze, and I'm like, did the game just freeze right now? And then I would move, and I'm like, oh no, it just turned into a photograph of that moment, and I'm back in the house again.
Seriously.
Yeah. So they're also, it's also I think being made for VR as well, so you can play it either in VR or without VR.
That sounds perfect for VR.
Yeah.
Sweet.
How do we feel about first-person adventure game?
First-person adventure. Okay.
Sure.
Sounds good.
I'd just say, like Dear Esther.
Like Dear Esther. Very cool one that I played. The Gardens Between.
Okay.
Which we saw like a couple of events ago. I don't know if it was Gamescom or PS or
this
Players
is not
Games
ringing
Week.
any bells for me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a more animated, cartoonish style, but like the way the levels are set up is they're like little islands, but they have like large versions of like toys and like radios and TVs. So it's kind of it's a really abstract kind of world, but you control you actually kind of don't control them. You control time, and there are two characters walking around these islands, and what you have to do is one of them's carrying a lantern, and you have to get the lantern to the end of the goal to light it up, and then you move on to the next level. So in a way, it's a little bit like Captain Toad, I think.
Okay.
To where you have like these kind of smaller spaces, but there's a lot to figure out in them. And so you move the analog stick right to move time forward, and you move it back to move time backwards. And like one of the easier puzzles to understand with that is they had like a saw blade. And so like there was like a plank here with the saw blade stuck in it, and then one of the persons was here and the other person was above the saw blade. And so if you move time forward, they jump on the saw blade, and you move it back, and then the saw blade would basically be cutting through the plank. So you go forward, back until it cuts through the plank, and then you make a path for the other character. And then there's also these chimes that you can interact with that have they have different effects depending on what's in the level, but essentially what they let you do is they let you control time independently for other objects in the level. So for instance, there's like a pile of Jenga blocks that were blocking the path, and so you hit the chime and then you roll time backwards for the Jenga blocks, and they all stack up into the tower, and then the path moves forward. And then there's like another one where they have it was really interesting where they had like essentially like an NES, and there was like a kind of like a discolored Mario-ish type of game on the TV.
Okay.
And there are these things that they're like blocks that could jump, so they would jump back and forth on different parts of some levels.
Okay.
And you put the lantern down on this block, and then it would jump into the game, and then you'd also have to like time things in the game so that it would jump and it would pick up a light in the game, and then you would bring the light back out so that you could put it on the platform at the end.
That sounds really clever. With these puzzles that you're solving and you're going back and forth throughout time, with all of them, are you just sort of locked to one perspective and you're watching things just kind of move back and forth, or was there anything where it's like, okay, when I move time forward, I then need to alter my perspective and look over here to see what's happening over here? That kind of thing.
I don't think you actually have any kind of camera control.
Okay.
It's just sort of following. It's just rotating around the island as you walk around the island. So it's
Okay.
always centered on one of the characters. There was one really complicated one that they let us play at the end, where like the light would make like these thorn bushes like grow, and so you were trying to get both characters through, and like at one point like thorns would be blocking one and then they would be blocking the other, and so just trying to figure out like how to get the light pass back and forth between each one of them.
When you're
pretty complex.
When you're going back and forth in time, is it kind of like, is it completely smooth where there were times where you had to like be like, oh, not quite that far, like go back a little bit more, or is it like segmented chunks basically?
No, it's entirely like with the analog stick.
Okay.
So like you push it forward a little bit and push it backwards a little bit, just however much.
Sorry, I
you
might
want.
have missed this. How do you move the character? Is it just by moving time?
Yeah, you don't
Okay,
really
so
actually control
I
the
see.
character
Okay.
themselves. You just control how the level's laid out, and then that alters which
Okay.
path they take.
Cool.
So
Sounds fun.
What was was it Gardens? What was the first?
the gardens between.
The Gardens Between. Okay, cool.
Blood, what's the release date on that one?
Let me see if they said. Yeah, if they said, I didn't write it down. I'm not sure.
Roger that.
Roger.
Roger that.
And then the last one I played, one of the Easy Allies fans actually told me about before I headed over to the hotel.
Oh, nice.
It's Horizon Chase Turbo.
Oh, I was there when they said that to me. You're like, oh, I gotta check that out, and
Yeah.
you bolted.
I thought it was
I was
actually.
like,
The
what is
Blood
this?
Bowl.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually
Alright,
a different
bye.
game, but it's cool. You know, I discovered something that I didn't know about. But it's basically like a 4-player version of Outrun or Rad Racer.
Oh,
So that very much that aesthetic. It's it's made with 3D assets, not 2D, but yeah, like those just those kind of almost endless feeling kind of turns in the tracks, and there's like a lot of traffic on the road to get around. And
wait, if it's 4-player, like are you all racing against each other or like on the same track?
you're all on the same track,
Okay.
split screen,
Okay.
and each of the different cars uses, like they all have different advantages and disadvantages, but like some of them will actually use more fuel, and so like there are fuel pickups on the road, and as well as the nitro pickups, and you only have a certain number of nitro uses, so you have to like really be careful. And if you nitro into a turn and then wipe out, then it's like, well, too bad, you're out of nitro now.
Does it have a sweet Outrun-esque crash?
Where you like fly out of the car.
Yeah.
I didn't. No, nobody
Okay.
flew out of the car. All the cars were closed
Work in
cockpit.
progress. Go at it.
That would be great. Well, the thing what's really funny is it's one of those games where it doesn't have licensed cars, but all the cars look exactly like cars that you recognize. Like, there's the Jaguar, there's the Chevy, there's the DeLorean, there's the VW bus. Yeah, like nothing that like I would have high expectations of, but like a fun
Sweet.
4-player racing
cool
game.
idea.
Seemed to have a lot of tracks, so and they had like California and China and like all kinds of different areas.
Cool.
Nice.
Huber.
Can I interject again?
Oh.
Interject.
I think Horizon Chase is a really good name for a racing game.
Yeah.
Horizon Chase.
Chase
It would be if
Horizon.
there weren't so many horizons, but yes.
Race the sun.
I mean, especially if it's like Outrun in that specific graphical style. Yeah, Horizon Chase. I like it.
It's a good name.
It's a good name.
catchy.
Swap in, Brandon.
Woo.
I wanted to ask Huber
Swapping.
about a game real quick that I know he played.
Why the vendors Huber want their beers.
They both want them.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Sure.
Beer time.
Beer time.
Thanks, Brandon.
Brought to you by.
Before I swap
Brought to you
out,
by
I will,
Sony.
I will yeah, exactly. The PSX access provided by Sony.
Yeah.
Huber. Huber.
It's the first one I'm going to talk about, bro.
Okay, tell me about it. Little
So
game.
for the 19th time, I saw Kingdom Come Deliverance. Yeah. Didn't even get to play. It was more of a developer walkthrough, but got to see it again. I've seen it so many times now. Each time it looks better, but this time it's looked the best it's ever looked. So I'm still really positive about it. The battles, the large scale battles of this game have me a little worried. I just don't think that aspect of the game is its strength. I don't think it's going to pan out really well.
Yeah.
The one-on-one duels are really cool because if you don't know what Kingdom Come Deliverance is, it is... They don't like to use this word, simulator, but it really is like a medieval simulator. It's very... Like, they like to use the word realistic. It's a very realistic game. You have to eat. You have to sleep. Armor, depending on the armor you wear, that is better against certain weapons. There's historical figures. They worked with like history buffs, and they have all these entries in the game about real life lore. Some of them were really interesting. Like, he walked by the butcher, and then like a little codex entry popped up, and it gave you the history of what a butcher did at that time, which was, I thought, really awesome.
Like Assassin's Creed a little bit.
Yeah, and like there was an entry about beer and how kids would drink beer instead of water because of the wheat and like if you like history at all, this game rules. Again, the one-on-one duels are really cool because there's like 5 points you can attack. It's kind of like For Honor, but a little more advanced. There's like 5 and then like 1 in the center. There's like parrying and again, depending on the weapon you use. But it's those large-scale battles that worry me a little bit.
Yeah, I remember seeing those at E3 with you.
Yeah, because when it's one-on-one, like, anytime you fight, you lock in, to that For Honor-style dueling, and it's really great. But then in the large-scale battles, it's just kind of a bunch of enemy AIs kind of just bumping into each other and kind of waiting to attack. There's people off to the side just, like, priming the angles of like what to attack, and like going in. It's a little weird, but there's a lot more to the game than that. Combat is not its focus. There are tons of quests. It's very similar in the gameplay wise to Skyrim or Dragon Age. There was this huge quest line he showed me where you have to disguise yourself as a monk to be a part of this community to find this murderer that is like hiding there. So you have to live day by day as a monk. You have to go pray. You have to eat. You have to talk to like you have a schedule, and you have to investigate during your free time. And like things you do will affect the story. There's a ton of branching paths. Just a really, really meaty game.
Yeah.
That
super intense.
Yeah, you're gonna get absorbed in it for sure.
Yeah, I guess my sort of like optimistic take on it is there are a lot of games where I do sword fighting, but like everything else you're describing, like if they can nail that setting and the level of depth that they're getting into with it, like that's enough for me. I can handle a moderate amount of jank to get that stuff.
Yes.
So.
And that's just the large scale stuff. I feel like the one-on-one duels are pretty strong.
Okay.
And like leveling up is really cool. It's similar to Elder Scrolls where, if you use a mace a lot, you're going to level up the mace. Or like if you drink a lot of alcohol, you can level up drinking. If you black out drunk if you black out, you can wake up at one of like 150 points.
Oh my god.
You just wake up in a random place, and the map is super cool. And there's like the fog of war, right? So like he was telling me one part of the game you are blindfolded and you get taken somewhere, so the only part of the map you can see is where you are. You don't know how you got there. So it's like if you end up drunk in the middle of just a crazy place, like you don't know how to get back.
I need to know more about this leveling up of drinking. Is this something that you can use to like a diplomatic advantage, where like you use it and you get them drunk?
That I don't. Yeah, you can like there are quests where you can like buy people drinks, and then that will. There's like
because you're like trying to strong arm a guy for information, and he's like, "Well, let's
like
drink."
The shots from Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, challenging other people.
Exactly.
Leveling up drinking. And then there's like I'm gonna min-max drinking.
One of the best perks for drinking was every time you black out and you wake up in your bed.
Nice.
That was one of the perks. You know how to get home. Yeah. And like you can lose items when you're drunk and stuff.
That's funny.
Yeah, really cool. It's shaping up. It comes out February.
Yeah.
It is close.
Great.
And they said it's done, content done. Now it's just bug fixing for the next couple months.
Excellent.
So looking good. Kingdom Come.
We got a question from chat.
Yeah.
Do you also have to go to the bathroom?
I don't know the answer to that question, but there is energy and food. So I don't know if you have to go to the bathroom. but you do have to eat and you do have to sleep. You get fatigued. So even like reading is really cool because like
Even reading is cool.
You're like a blacksmith's son, and the historical person that made the game was like, no way any blacksmith's son would be able to read during this time, period. So like they had to implement it into the game where like you get taught to read by like this noble person because you get taken under their wing. So you'll look at books and it'll be kind of gibberish, but then you can like study reading, and then that will help you learn things about how to tackle different objectives. You get a bonus if you're reading in like bed, like a more cozy place, or if you're reading by like a window in a garden. Super deep systems in this game.
Well, it sounds, the thing that worries me though is it sounds like this is a lot of stuff that's being told to you by the developers while you're playing. Like, how would I know that going into the game? Like all these little tiny things. Obviously, they're a joy to discover. But
so they really emphasized. I'm glad you asked that question. They really emphasized. We do not hold your hand. You have to pay attention. It is all about rewarding patience and players that pay attention. There was one thing where he was in the battle and there were archers on a roof sniping, and like no one told him to do this. No one, like, there's no prompt, but you can like burn the haystack and that'll get some smoke and that'll like mess up their vision.
Cool.
So it's like this game is filled with little moments like that where the aware player, the person paying attention, will have a far easier time than people just trying to bum rush their way through.
My dream for this game is, especially with the reading, when you're reading in bed, that there's just unique dialogue written for that where it just goes, this is nice.
This is cozy.
It's like a glass of wine or something.
So that was it.
Man, this sounds so cool.
I know, I can't wait. I really can't wait. Feel good hit.
Feel good hit.
Cult classic. You remember that?
Yeah, it's a cult classic.
It's a cult classic already.
Yeah.
It's a cult classic
that's what I'm
already.
saying,
Yep.
And next was, I was filming my episode and then I got a text from Ben Moore to say Way of the Passive Fist. So that was the first game I went to go play immediately.
This game made me so happy, I would have been extremely disappointed if you didn't go and play it.
You texted me, it was the first thing I did. I was like, I'm going straight there.
Oh man, based on what I've seen so far, Way of the Passive Fist is something to get excited about.
Super good.
Yeah.
Like putting a twist on a classic genre that has never been done before. Like putting the twist. It's a beat 'em up where you don't really attack. There is like an offensive special move, but it's all about parrying and counters and dodging.
That sounds awesome.
Really good, really strong retro visuals. Kyle will like it. It's got those big, meaty character sprites.
They specifically referenced like Simpsons Arcade, X-Men Arcade, that sort of stuff. So
We've played it.
No,
Kyle and I played it.
Nice. Oh yeah, at PAX, right? You guys all played it?
get up here.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've talked about it
They're
a
out.
bunch, and it was pretty much the same thing from PAX, right?
Yeah.
And Brandon,
same.
you've played it as well.
I did not physically play it, but I was there.
Okay.
Yeah, like listening to the developer at PAX.
Okay.
It was one player, right?
Single player. They tried co-op. It doesn't work.
Interesting.
Design choice. You can only be attacked by like one person at a time, really. People will come in, attack you, dash out. Another person will come in.
Right, and that leads to such a cool rhythm because you'll get these guys that will attack really, really fast, and you'll block them and you'll wear them down a little bit, and then they'll bounce out, and a big guy will come in, and he has a totally different cadence to him than the small guys that you were fighting, and so it's easy when you're first starting out and you're just dealing with the same groups of enemies at once, but when they're getting intermixed and you have to bounce between the rhythms, it feels really, really good and satisfying. And like some characters you want to parry, you want to parry everything they do, but then there are like these ladies that have daggers.
Oh, it's so cool.
And if you dodge at just the right moment with the dagger, you'll catch it and throw it back at them, and you'll instantly kill them.
That's
and
what I was
it
going to
feels
ask.
So
is there only
good,
pretty much two buttons
So
in
there's
this?
parry, dodge, dash, and then R1 was super, and that can be unlocked. You get XP and level up. You unlock different levels of that. I only had level 1, but after enough dodges and parries, that would charge, and then R1 would be like a knockout punch.
Whoa.
Right, but and the super is so important because that is basically the way you kill bosses.
Yeah.
And so the problem is you have a combo and you're getting that combo up as you're parrying and as you're dodging. But if you parry at the wrong time or if you get hit, you lose that.
All
And so
of it.
let's say you have a super built up. If you get hit, that super's gone.
Yeah.
And so you're
So the
really
boss
incentivized
to use it.
to not only do well, but use it as soon as you get it. Like
And then
really
it's Devil
think
May
about
Cry
that punch.
Bayonetta style. The better you do, each encounter you get graded and scored
Oh, okay,
and
cool.
XP depending on that. But like you were saying about the boss was definitely the best part, and
Yes.
that really showcased how complex and how deep the rhythm gets of just
Yes.
fighting, because the boss has this giant tire thing and he's coming down slamming, and then other guys will come in and you're parrying them, and then he'll throw the tire, but you'll be locked into combat with this guy and this tire's coming.
And I just want to
very
emphasize
tricky.
how awesome the design of this boss is.
Yeah.
He's this big, shirtless dude. He's got a giant motorcycle tiger for a hand, and he's just like, "Grrr," and he's throwing it at you. And so just visually, it's got a very good vibe to it. Did you do the... Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna ask, how does it feel? Does it feel precise? It's
Feels
a game
really good.
It feels
super
really
that
good.
counts on that a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
feels
good.
really good. Not worried at all.
Great.
Did you do the second boss? Did you do the second level?
I did not.
Okay, so the first boss, it's really all about how well you're doing crowd control, because the whole point of it is, like, most of the time, like Huber was saying, enemies will just come and attack you one-on-one, but during this boss, the motorcycle guy doesn't care. You need to build up the super with the smaller guys, but then attack him, but while you're attacking the smaller guys, he'll throw his tire at you. And so it's this very specific skill that you need to learn to get through this boss, whereas the second boss I did, which was brutal, and then I had him do it, and he didn't get hit. It was amazing. During the second boss, it is just a very intense one-on-one fight.
Nice.
And so he had a lot more moves than the first boss did, and to compensate for that, it's just you versus him.
Very cool.
Yeah, which is awesome.
It's so fun. Cool world, cool lore. It's like
Cool lore?
cool lore. It's like post-apocalyptic, but like the visuals are so colorful and nice.
Okay.
Like you won't mind,
Yeah, you
Brad.
reassured me.
There's like cool things where there'll be a sandstorm, and that'll affect your vision. You're getting
Right.
attacked, and you can like barely see. But the story is that your character, like everyone's out of water and like energy and stuff. So the whole context of Way of the Passive Fist is that you don't want to use energy because like it's the future and there's a lack of energy and resources
Yeah.
and people get tired. So it's all about wearing people out. And then when they get so tired, you just knock them over.
Cool.
The two last things that I want to say about Way of the Passive Fist are that the audio and visual feedback is really good, and you can tell that they just spent so much time perfecting it. Like every attack for every enemy has its distinct sound, and you
the
can
sound
basically
is so
play via sound just listening to that.
Oh.
Yeah.
And every time there's an attack that you can parry, there's a white flash above their stamina meter, so that's a great cue. And then if you need to dodge, there'll be a moment where there are sparkles on the screen, and so you really know, like, okay, I just didn't do the right thing at the right time that the game was clearly telling me. That's super, super good. And the other thing, the amount that you can customize the difficulty to
Yeah,
is
the
crazy.
the slider.
So they break down each component of the game, and so they'll do like how hard the enemy hits, and you literally have a slider where you can tweak it.
Yes.
And then you can do another one where it's like, here's my window for parry time. Okay, here's the number of enemies that will appear on
Really?
screen.
Yeah.
And so he's like,
There's 4.
we
and then
really
there was like how many resources you get.
Right, and he was like, we really want everyone to enjoy this game, but we also want to give you the tools to get better at it. So maybe you just suck at parrying. You can make it so your parrying window is really high, like at the tightest window, but you can turn everything else down. So you really get a lot of time to just focus on that one skill, which is super, super
And then there's
cool.
checkpoints too, so it's all about
Yep, and you can
getting
tweak
through.
the number of checkpoints in the level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
can be as hardcore or chill as you want.
Yeah, going to PSX, I got to talk to a lot of people that were very excited about the game. They're their own games, and the guy making this, he's a guy named Jason.
so passionate.
And he just exploded my heart with love because he was somebody that like started talking about his game, and he's like, "Oh, here's what we're trying to do." And then as he kept talking, I could hear him and see him get more excited, and he got more animated with his expressions and like the reference he was dropping for influences. It was just an incredibly heartwarming experience because you're like, this guy cares so deeply about this project, and he just loves Streets of Rage. He loves fighting games. He's
had a
making this from an
10-minute
absolute place of good-naturedness.
The most.
Yeah.
We had a 10-minute conversation on just beat 'em ups.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
He's a
the
really
only
good
time I
dude.
saw Ben throughout all of PSX other than the meetup. And I just walked by you when you were talking to him. And I was like, oh, there's Ben. Let me go say hi to
Yeah.
Ben. I'm like, this is a special conversation
Yeah,
happening right
it
here.
was. I didn't even see it.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I didn't even see
Yeah.
it. But no, he was a really cool guy, and Way of the Pacifist just seems like a very, very, very cool
Sweet.
game.
Sounds
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Got another question from chat. Soundtrack, old school music or modern?
Old school.
So I was playing without headphones, and I could hear like the chirps of the enemies, but it was really hard for me to hear the music just because of the chaos.
I'm pretty sure it was
of the,
old school.
Okay.
I believe you, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I believe you.
I believe you.
Cool.
What else you guys got?
I had one more
Anything
game.
else?
I've got a big list.
Oh yeah, man.
Got one last one. Yakuza 6.
You played it.
Yes.
Nice. I didn't get to
Yes.
play it.
Played it.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
In time.
Oh.
Settle in.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yakuza 6.
All right. Let me
Yakuza 6.
Okay.
Yakuza 6. They had 2 demos. Could only play one. They had the story demo,
Okay.
which I didn't want to get into because we know how long Yakuza cutscenes can be.
Yeah.
So I dove into the free roam of Yakuza 6.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, just like every single time I boot a new Yakuza up, visual upgrade.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
A huge dramatic.
You can walk around now in first person, and it is crazy. Like first person, just staring at the lights, unbelievable. Want to get into it. Want to talk about first up is the technical performance of Yakuza 6 compared to the other Yakuzas. There's no loads when entering buildings. Does not load. This sounds like such a small thing, but it is like the biggest thing to happen to Yakuza since like HD is no loads. So you go into like any shop, seamless. First thing I did, I went to a shop, I ordered some ramen, sit down, get some ramen. The guy is like, hey, yo, thank you.
Hey, Huber, welcome back.
Thanks for the ramen. Then, like, walked around the back alleys, saw some drunken men, they were called.
As you do in Yakuza.
And just like going in buildings, though, it's all seamless. So, like, you come across these enemies, and it doesn't do the loading. It doesn't,
Yeah.
there's, like, no time wasted, and that's such a big thing.
You see a dude, you hit a dude.
Exactly, because in you see a dude, you hit a dude, because in
Oh, that's so
like
good.
it would break up the pacing quite a bit, especially when you're trying to get across town, you're trying to like finish your objective, like when mobs would attack you, it would just like slow everything down.
Yep.
So pretty much like I went to all the familiar sites. You know, the first thing I do anytime I play a new Yakuza game is I go behind Serena Bar.
Yep.
I say, what's up? I check out the back alleys. I go up those stairs. I walk into Serena Bar. Then I walk out the front door. Once again, no loads.
Did you go to Don Quixote?
I did not go to Don Quixote.
Okay.
I didn't have time.
Okay.
The demo stopped abruptly.
Oh, no.
Abrupt stop.
I have a question. How, like, I've only played 2 Yakuza games.
Yeah.
How's the combat? Is it kind of the same like Zero and Kiwami, or is it completely different?
So, very similar to Kiwami. I couldn't get into the nitty-gritty details. I know Zero has
Like,
the
do you have
4
the
styles.
same? Yeah, do you have that again?
And Kiwami does too, but
Yeah.
you don't have the styles
You-
here.
Yeah, you don't have the
Okay,
styles here.
okay.
So I pretty much just did the tired and true square and triangle mashing.
Yeah.
Got
Square,
some
square,
weapons.
triangle, yeah.
There's like a really cool special move where I kept like hitting the guys, and then it would like triangle would pop up,
Yeah.
and you'd like mash it. So you'd like anime style punch someone, and then it'd be like paused here, and then you would triangle, 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 and it would like do an explosion punch where they would go flying.
That's funny.
So,
So-
it's super awesome.
It's been a long time since I've played it, but I believe they took some elements of the styles and incorporated them into Yakuza 6. Like, I think you can still, like, auto-grab things, like, mid-combo, like Beast style.
Nice.
And so I still think, like, there's some elements of that system present
Sweet.
in Yakuza 6.
Yeah.
I think.
So again, it was a very abrupt demo, though. I
Yeah.
like right when I was getting my feet planted,
I'm kind of amazed
abrupt ending.
that a representative didn't just come out and, like, give you a copy and be like, no, it's fine.
I wish. No, it was packed, and that is what I love. You know,
Yeah.
When I was just thinking of the Yakuza 0 booth at E3 just a barren wasteland, and now Yakuza 6 at PSX, the longest line in the building. It's just unbelievable.
The world's getting smarter.
Yes, it just feels so good. Like, I feel so good for this franchise and how hyped it is and how everyone was waiting in line. Everyone wanted to play it. Everyone was just talking about Yakuza 0. Like, the conversations in line, I would just hear people talking about, like, oh, yeah, I hope I find Majima. Like, it's just so cool.
While you were waiting to play, did you hear anybody say, like, yeah, this guy Huber got me into it?
No,
like, you didn't,
no.
okay, you didn't hear that.
But the guy at the end of the line stick, I just went up to him and I yelled the Dragon of Dojima. I gave him a high five.
and he was into that.
He was into
Okay.
it.
I saw you yell at many employees there.
Yeah,
the
couple
Kratos,
times.
the Kratos guy.
Anytime I saw the Kratos guy walk by, I yelled, Calliope!
And he never
We're talking the guy with the Kratos face paint?
yeah,
that
like,
guy was awesome.
Never
Yeah.
acknowledged Huber
Yeah.
once.
Really?
Ignored
He
him
would just, like,
every
I
stare.
time.
saw another
Same
person
character.
say that to
Same
him, and he
character.
totally, I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. That's okay. All right.
He probably thought I was trolling him, but I was like actually being genuine.
Right.
Like,
What if Huber
Calliope.
showed up in the world of God of War and said that? You know, Kratos would just go right on his way.
That's
Yeah,
true.
he was RPing.
That's
He's got a
true.
journey to finish.
He was RPing. So Yakuza 6 looks better than ever, runs better than ever.
Great.
Then I saw, like, as I was on my way out, I saw a couple people doing the story mode, and all I saw was this beautiful sunset. Okay, it's this. No, I'm serious. This beautiful sunset. He's like walking by a riverbank with a bag of luggage, holding a baby, just strolling. Kazuma.
Yeah.
And I saw, and then that was it. That was it. I looked at it. My heart stopped for a second.
That was enough.
I was like, oh my gosh, can't wait.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
So it's
Not too abrupt.
Yeah.
That cutscene. Just
Like-
enough.
just enough.
That's so funny,
Yeah.
dude.
So, Kazuma holding a baby, playable.
Hype.
Yeah. So pumped.
Let's do it.
Dude, March,
Let's go.
right? March? Song of Life?
Not soon enough.
March?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's kind of far away.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Jeez.
All right, Ben Moore.
So
That was a good Yakuza story.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was a good
It was
Yakuza
chill. It was
story.
mellow. It was just, wait in line, play. Boom.
Feel good moment.
Yeah. They handed you the tissues, and there's a number to call.
Yeah.
And if you call the number, you can leave a message. It's like a Yakuza message line, and there's like a operator. They're like, by leaving a message, you acknowledge that we can use your voice in any way at any time. So I just like called and left a message.
I was hoping
Just
it'd be-
one?
Yeah, I left one message. Just Dragon of Dojima.
I was hoping it'd be like a Yakuza guy talking or something like the message. It should have been Japanese.
I thought for sure it would have been Shenmue, but all
That'd
right.
be awesome.
All right.
Gotta respect Yakuza.
You do.
It's its
You
own
do.
thing.
It's its own beautiful
separate.
thing.
It's no beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Ben.
All right.
What do you got?
I got a lot. I'm in that unfortunate position where I have a lot, and I thought most of it was really cool, but I also have a big list, so I want to go kind of fast.
Most of it was cool. That's a good thing.
Yeah, Brad, you're gonna be into this. Brandon,
Let me
you
hear it.
played this.
Let me hear it.
The first thing I checked out was Fallen Legion.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So Fallen Legion is really cool. It's already out on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. But the tricky thing is it's two separate stories. So on PlayStation 4, it's its own story, and then on PlayStation Vita, it's its own story.
Whoa.
So on PlayStation 4, you are playing this princess basically who becomes an empire and is responsible for this kingdom. And then, and you have to quell this rebellion. And then on the Vita, you are playing as the person who's like responsible for the rebellion.
Ooh.
So you're seeing two different sides of this war. What's nice is it's coming out on Switch early next year. You get both stories.
On the Switch?
You get both stories on the
Nice.
Switch, so you finish one, you can go right into the other. You don't have to deal with this two-platform stuff. But what is really cool about this game is the battle system. So basically, you're running through this area, and then you'll get into a battle, and you'll stop, and your units called exemplars will be on one side, and the enemies will be on another side. And much like Valkyrie Profile, each of your exemplars is mapped to a button.
Love it.
So you hit triangle, you'll send out that specific exemplar mapped to that button. And you can combo them together,
Love it.
which you really want to do. And so depending on how you do the button combinations, that's good. And you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there are basically these circles. So every time you do an attack, that attack will go in these circles. The last circle, whoever you put there will get to do a super move. However, if you get hit while you're building up that chain, it resets.
Okay.
And so that's where your defense comes in. You can block, you can parry. Parrying makes it so you can attack more often. And so you want to kind of, it's actually a really complicated, like pretty demanding battle system because you want to build up a chain, but you want to make sure you don't get hit because you want to be doing as much damage as possible. You can do things like you can send your sword and shield guy out to like keep them away from you, and then while you're doing that, have your archer like pelt them in the back.
Sweet.
Which is really cool. So very active, actiony battle system, which I liked. As you're going through, basically, essentially the stage, you'll get to make choices, and it's like, hey, there's some problem going on with your kingdom. How do you want to resolve this? And you'll get to pick from a multiple things of options, and whichever one you pick, it'll give you obviously an in-game benefit, but it'll affect the story as well.
Really?
So you're kind of having this branching story take place as you're going through, as you're fighting. And that's really, really cool.
And there will be like negative benefits that will impact someone in the story, so you can be kind of greedy. Like if you're going in and like one of your guys falls, it'll be like, hey, do you want to bring that guy back? But then that means this farm is going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
You're like, yes, sorry.
Right. Right. And the thing is you have a limited amount of time to make these decisions.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and agonize over it too much. You're on a timer, and so you totally might make a decision.
So because of that, I
for you.
felt myself like kind of having like one side of thinking that like most of my decisions fell on that side because I had to make them so quickly. So if I saw a name come up or some army or like we're like, well, this will betray this guy that you're trying to create a partnership with, I'm just like, I'm gonna give up on that guy, forget it. So like if I saw him, I'm like, no, there's no point in investing in that because he probably hates me now.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you actually got to play of it, but is there more to the game than just the combat?
Basically what I saw is you'll have these combat stages where you're going through, you're fighting a group, you get to make a decision that will progress the story, and then like it'll culminate in like a boss fight or something, and then in between stages you'll have dialogue as well, so you'll have more story development, but I didn't see like you're not doing exploration or anything.
This is the one similar to Grand Kingdom, right?
There's definitely comparisons to draw to Grand Kingdom because you're moving across this map. And kind of a very similar flow to Grand Kingdom. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. But yeah, that was fun. Legion, it was something that I played very early on in development, but now playing it on the Switch, it's come such a long way, and I think the battle system is really, really cool, and like it's nice having both stories on one thing. A lot of these games, just the idea of them is so good, and the next one I have is the longest 5 minutes, and I think everybody in this room would be on board for this game, or at least that was my impression. It was extremely charming, pretty clever. The whole idea of it is that you're an RPG group, and you start the game at the final boss, the Dark Lord, and then all of a sudden, you develop amnesia, and in the middle of the fight, your friends are like, dude, why aren't you doing the thing? Why don't you remember my name? Why don't you remember where we came from? Why don't you remember any of your special moves? And so as you're going through, and the Dark Lord, in a pretty humorous way, it was pretty funny, he'll be like, I'm really going to attack now. Maybe I'll just let you figure it out for a while. You'll go and do flashbacks. And so at different points of the flashbacks, you'll be different levels. And so it's like, in this flashback, this is where I met that character. So this is why they're important. This is why they're in my party. This is what we can do. And it kind of just starts out where you're exploring these towns, and you're these kids going on this adventure. And then you'll go, and the flashbacks will get more involved. You'll have basically like an early Dragon Quest world map that you'll be going through, getting into battles. And you can clearly tell that Dragon Quest was a huge inspiration for this, because like the enemies that you're fighting are just like kind of goofy and ridiculous and cartoony, like punny names and stuff like that. And so that was really cool. And as it's going along, you'll do a flashback, and then you'll acquire a new power. And like the dragon, or not the dragon, I keep saying the Dragon Lord because of tabletop, but the Dark Lord, the Dark Lord will do an attack, and it's like, thanks to that flashback, I can now heal the party, and so now everything's fine. And so it's kind of just the longest 5 minutes is like all of this is happening in 5 minutes with the Dark Lord.
That's really clever.
But you're kind of
What a cool idea.
It's very cool. So it's obvious that they just kind of wanted to do an homage to classic RPGs, but they found a really clever, unique spin on it.
Very cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I was super into that. And from beyond I don't know. I like a lot of these games, but this one I'm super excited about. It's called Penny Punching Princess.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a top-down action game, and you have you punch everything. You have a light attack and a strong attack. That's all well and good. You've seen that countless times before. But what you haven't seen before is you're a loaded princess. You have a lot of money, and so what you can do is any enemy or trap in the game you can bribe.
Dude.
You can pay off
Economy.
in real time. You like literally bust out a calculator, and there's a bare minimum amount of money that you need to pay them off. But if you do more of that, so let's say you bribe a skeleton, if you do the bare minimum amount, that skeleton will be your friend and help you fight out everybody else. But if you pay them more, you'll get more skeletons. They'll be even stronger. You can also do this with traps. So I was going through and there were these big dragons, and they're like, hey, don't fight the dragons. Buy the traps, lead the dragons over to the traps, activate them, and then it'll kill the dragons.
Oh my god.
And so it's this really cool system where you want to bribe as many things as possible, but you're running out of money quickly. And so you have to figure out, like, okay, this enemy will help me fight things off. This enemy will give me an ability that might be really useful later. And so it's just a super fascinating mechanic. But outside of combat, outside of these missions, when you get kicked back out, you also have a castle that you're trying to develop. And the way that you develop it is the people that you bribed are essentially resources. So if it's like, hey, I want to upgrade this thing, I need to bribe, 3 more skeletons. And so you want to do it from that perspective as well, because the more people you bribe, essentially the more resources you'll have, and the bigger your castle will go.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, so I just loved the idea of like in the moment just trying to pay everybody off, and you can just solve an entire combat situation that way. You can just buy
Just
off
save up,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And so I thought that was
Does that
really
work
cool.
on bosses too or anything like that?
I don't believe I fought a boss. That is a good question. I would love if it was just like
Like
all
you
your money
recruit a
or a
boss or something,
huge
that'd be
level.
awesome.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And the amount of money you have, is that per level, or is it for the whole game, or do you know?
So the amount of money that you have, it's you carry that with you. So you kind of just have like a running total.
Oh, okay.
It might just be for the level, but I believe it's just kind of with you the whole time, because you also use that money to buy upgrades and stuff as well.
Oh, okay, there you go. Got it.
But yeah, that was really, really cool. Brad, I've got one for you.
Let me hear it, baby.
Yeah. So this was one, kind of like what Blood was saying. Actually, an ally came up to me and they were like, you have to check this out. It's called 20XX. It's actually already out on Steam.
People were talking to me about this.
Yeah, it's coming to PlayStation, and it is co-op Mega Man X. It is just unabashedly Mega Man X.
Cool.
So one person plays who is essentially X, another person plays somebody who is essentially Zero.
Yeah.
And maybe this is on me, but whenever somebody says, I'm paying homage to this game that controls super, super well, I'm like, if they don't make it feel actually that good, I'm out.
Yeah.
This game feels amazing.
Wow. Excellent.
Like, I was just dashing on icy platforms, like dodging spikes, like really, really well, doing wall bounces. It felt exactly like a Mega Man X game. But that's not all.
That's not all?
That's not all, Brad. This is a roguelike.
Okay.
So imagine Mega Man X, where you're going through the levels, and basically you have certain challenges that you expect, but they're placed in different orders. The bosses that you fight are in a randomized order. So like we fought a boss and we're like, oh, I didn't see that one. And that's really interesting in the context of Mega Man, because as you know in Mega Man, certain weapons are good against certain other things. And so depending on the weapon that you get, that might be super advantageous to you, depending on how the random generation plays out, or it might not be. And as you're going through, there are like health stations that you can pay money into. There are upgrades that you can get. There's also this currency, kind of Rogue Legacy style. There's like this in-between currency where you can pay for buffs that persist between the runs, which I thought was really, really cool. Hearing the pitch on it, I was skeptical about having X and Zero play together at the same time. I'm like, maybe that'll be too chaotic. But it's actually...
That was my question. I was going to ask, like...
Yeah.
Well, do you have that many people playing? Does it still feel coherent when you're moving through stuff together?
Yeah. So the way that the screen is positioned, I always felt like I had enough room to kind of keep the pace up with my partner. And the fights, like the boss fight we did, it was really beneficial for me. I was playing like the Zero character to run up and attack them, and I was essentially covering X, who could hang back and get off really powerful shots.
Sweet.
And so it worked really well. I only did one level. I can't speak to the whole game, but I immediately went on Steam and bought it. It was $15. And I just... what especially sold me is I was talking to the guy who made it, and I was like, it's like they weren't making Mega Man X games.
So they
and
made
you
one.
did,
Yeah,
and he's
so
like,
made one.
he just like gave me this huge smile, and he's like, someone had to. Like, he just knew, he understood.
That's awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a very, very, very cool
Nice.
game.
That sounds fun.
Ben, I got a question about this one.
Yeah.
When you're playing through it, can you feel the random generator? Can you feel like some of the levels are like, this is a little janky?
No, honestly, I didn't feel it. Again, I only played one level, so this might be an issue that crops up later on. But, like, it was kind of broken up into different challenges, and if you think about Mega Man, if you think about classic Mega Man, everything's kind of broken up screen by screen. So it felt like, okay, for this portion, like the obstacle that we're dealing with is slippery platforms. There was one, I loved this mechanic. You'd be going along, and you hit X, and you would flip around, and you'd get sucked to the ceiling. And so you'd have to alternate between like whether you were upside down or right side up. And each of these different chunks lasted for a pretty reasonable amount of time, like the same amount of time that you would expect in a traditional Mega Man game. So no, in fact, I don't think I would have known it. I mean, maybe I would have had an inkling, I guess, but I don't think I would have known it unless he told me it was randomly generated. But again,
that's high praise.
One level. But
Good
yeah,
stuff.
I loved it.
Sounds fun.
I could not believe how well it controlled. Very, very good. I got two more.
All right.
The 25th Ward, the Silver Case. This is a sequel to the Silver Case, which I've only played a little bit of.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so this is a sequel to the Silver Case. So
From?
Grasshopper's first game was the Silver
Is Suda
Case.
doing it?
Yes. So Suda's involved in the 25th Ward, but this game was only out in Japan on like this cell phone subscription service, and so they're completely remaking it for PlayStation 4.
Yo, hot take.
Yeah.
Real quick question.
Yeah.
With all of these great games we're talking about, why were these not in the PlayStation Presents conference?
Good question.
They're like, I didn't even know Suda was making this. Like,
Yeah.
why was that game not shown?
Yeah.
Crazy. Sorry. Hot
No,
take.
it's all right. The 25th Ward. So the things that I can say about it. So it's basically a visual novel, and those are extremely hard to demo. It's hard to just sit there and really immerse yourself in this lengthy story. But there are a couple of takeaways that I had. So basically, there are four different perspectives, I guess is a way that three different like perspectives that you can get, and these are all happening concurrently, so you can play them in any order that you want to.
Cool.
And the art that you're seeing for each of the different perspectives reflects the personality of what's going on, which is really cool. The music was phenomenal, and the dialogue was so good. It was described to me as Tarantino-esque, and you really got that sense.
Nice.
So we did like the thing that you're basically like, while you can do them in any order, there's kind of an order that it sort of naturally suggests to you. And so we were doing the first section, and you had this officer and his partner, and he was like, "Hey, why do you eat your miso soup like that? Like, why do you just slurp it up like a pig?" And she's like, "I don't know. It's just I did that as a kid. I don't know why I did that." And he's like, "That's unacceptable." And so you just, they're going into this condo basically to investigate this murder, but they have like this pretty lengthy dialogue about the proper way of consuming miso soup. And so, yeah, very, very quirky, very cool. I can't really speak to like the broader story very well. I only played a little bit of the Silver Case, but definitely had a lot of style. Definitely
Does
want
it
to check
visually
out more.
look like Silver Case?
Yeah. It looks better in a lot of ways. It looks more modern than like from a UI perspective than the Silver Case did, but the art is still very similar.
Cool.
Kind of in that same format.
On my radar, man. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, little gifts for everybody.
Little gifts, Christmas time, video games. Yeah. The last game that I have to talk about is one that was probably conceptually the most interesting, but technically the roughest. It's called The Church in the Darkness.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is a infiltration open narrative game.
Whoa.
And it's really, really cool. So basically, you are playing as this ex-cop, and you're going in and you're trying to find your nephew who was taken by this cult. And that's kind of the loose frame for the narrative. And what's so awesome about it is every time you play it, everything will be different. Every element will be different. So sometimes you'll go in there and you'll find your nephew, and he'll be like, man, they took me against my will. I didn't want this. This is awful. Like, what are you going to do? And other times he's like, no, these are really great people. I want to be here. I want to stay here. You're talking to the leaders of the cult and their motivations for doing things. The whole tone that they're taking with you will change. It is also changed by what you do. So like you have a gun, you can go through and shoot everybody in this cult if you want to, but then they're going to comment on that. They're going to reflect on that, and it'll be like, hey man, you killed everybody in this cult and those people actually weren't that bad. And so the way that he was talking about it from sort of a narrative design standpoint is he's like, there are really big, serious issues that we wanted to talk about that they actually both used to work at Microsoft, and they were like, we couldn't make this game on a big level, and so we went off and we formed our own studio and we made this game. And it's like, we want to talk about these themes, we want to present this open narrative where we raise these questions and provide you enough different viewpoints on these topics that you can arrive at your own conclusion. And I just thought that was really, really cool. Unfortunately, technically it was rough. I like the idea of how you can tweak the difficulty, which changes like vision cones and things like that, but I was playing it and like vision cones would disappear, or I would get stuck in a box or things like that. And so just on that level, there was some more work that could be done. But
still top down. So you're
still
real
top down.
high up. Like your character model is actually very small.
Yep.
Oh,
still
really?
top down.
Yeah.
Yep. A big point of inspiration for him was talking about Castle Wolfenstein as well.
Oh,
and
interesting.
so you can go and there are like disguises that you can find, and depending on the level of disguise that you get, it will reduce the vision cone of your enemies and stuff like that. And so very, very cool. There are people that you can find. You can actually tell by their vision cones, like if it's like yellow, they'll be afraid of you, but they're not part of the cult. They're not people who will attack you on sight. If it's red, they're obviously bad. But if they're green, there are people that can help you, and you can you can interact with them, and they'll give you rewards for doing things and stuff like that. But yeah, a very intriguing game. I'm curious to see where it ends up. So
Nice.
yeah, those are my games.
Also, from when I played this at PAX, I don't even think it was the last PAX. I think it might have been the PAX before that. It would kind of get in your head because they'd be saying messages over the loudspeakers. So it's kind of interesting. You brought up Wolfenstein, like kind of like that. You don't want to get too messed up by people saying negative things about you or saying things that are the opposite of the mission you're trying to accomplish. And so I love when you have kind of that white noise in the background in a game. Where there's the context and story being told, so they're making announcements and saying like, we're starting this event at this time, or reading passages from a religious book or something.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, potentially disturbing.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
All right, Brandon. What do you got?
Brandon.
What do you got,
Last but not
Brandon?
least.
My first appointment was the
dreams.
Swords of Ditto.
Yeah, this game
Swords
looks
of Ditto,
awesome. Yeah.
Which has an adorable trailer that shows off that it is reminding me a little bit of Rogue Legacy just by concept, because I did not spend a lot of time with that. But
I love Rogue Legacy.
you die, you hand off the responsibility to not necessarily your heir, the next person in the line to receive the Sword of Ditto.
Okay.
And so you wake up,
So it's roguelike?
Link to the Past style. You wake up in your town, and you have to go and get the sword, and then you get it, and you go to the grave. Which I killed my character on purpose just to see the cycle of that, and it was I was kind of sad, I missed that, my first character. You'd go to the grave, get the sword, and then go on. And the town stays the same. It changes the name, so I think it was Dittoria the first thing, and then it was Dittoburg, when I came back 100 years later.
Yeah.
And the layout for the town is the same, but it's kind of like Zelda in that you go to the edge and then it loads, and then it'll load the next area, and anything past that is totally different. So you can see okay, the place I have to go to is maybe
So it's
6 or 8
top-down?
blocks. Yeah, top down.
Okay.
Co-op. Drop in, drop out co-op, super easy. He actually, when I went through the intro, right when I got to the point where I was like, oh, I got my equipment, he jumped in. And I was like, oh, can you not jump in before then? He's like, no, I was just being nice. He's like, I wanted you to go through that by yourself. You can have your friend jump in. And it was really fun to juggle enemies between them. It was really great feedback. The art style is actually very simplistic, but it's kind of like Wind Waker in that it makes it all the more expressive when you see their eyes kind of open up wide and the way they animate. And so everything had a really good impact to it when we were fighting it. And so it was fun to kind of stress out one target between the two of us and have it not know who it was supposed to be attacking. And right when it would turn around on me, I'd back up, and then he would come in and lay in. And we had a sword. All of your armor is, I want to say, I'm not sure if stickers was the words he used, but there were little images that you would get, and then I think there were like a couple on body, like 2 for your arm, 2 for your head, and you share money if you play co-op. You share money between the two of you, and you share all the items. So if either one of you gets an item, both of you can equip it at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And the person there was not the main developer, but they said that the man who conceived of the game was watching his kids playing and was tracking everything they argued about, and to try to just create systems that would just be like, nope, you're not going to argue about it because you both have the money. You both have this item, like you both get the thing. But it had a little bit of a bite to it. I liked that I would go into areas and just naturally from playing Zelda, like I see a patch of grass, and I go over and I'm knocking the grass out, and enemies will pop up out of the grass.
Ooh.
And of course you die, you're dead, and you go back, and so there's like that tension. And I wasn't able to get it wasn't difficult. Like I had to or at least the 15-20 minutes that I played. So I had to like actively find a tough enemy and just kind of stand there for it to take me out. But I wonder like when the game really starts to turn on you and actually starts to get really difficult, or if it's kind of geared more toward a younger crowd. But just loved the world, loved the you have a little roll where you actually turn into like a sphere, like a little basketball and roll. And there's all sorts of magic items that you get. One item that I got at the end where we went into a dungeon and came back out was a record, and it was act as a boomerang, so it would go out and you could like grab objects that way. So if there was something you wanted to get, a coin or something, you could throw it and grab it that way. You had a little torch that you could obviously do puzzles with, light little sconces and stuff, but you could also light enemies on fire. There were some you had to, where you could lower its health, but it wouldn't die until you would burn it.
With the co-op, like that move where you could turn into a ball, is that something that your partner can interact with? Can they like kick you around, or can you do any sort of? Okay.
There might be other. Again, it looked like there were lots of different types of fun objects. It definitely is a very playful vibe.
Okay.
But got the bow and arrow there, which I immediately was like, oh right, I'm using that. And what's great is if you hold down, it'll create like a laser in front of you, so you can really specifically target. But even just kind of like aiming my character in a direction and shooting a bow, like 99% of the time I would hit the target I wanted to hit. So it just felt really good. Again, the style is not super complex. This is not something like Below or something that has like a very interesting, stark kind of like a style you haven't seen before. It's very cartoony, very playful. But I had a blast playing, and I definitely attempted to do a spouse quest on that with Amanda. I think the two of us would have a good time with that. And I'm sure it's fun to play by yourself, but co-op was really, really great. I played 2 VR games that I had not checked out before. I don't know if was the Inpatient demo new, or was that just classic Inpatient?
I didn't play it. Did it start with you in the room and him like looking at you?
You're in a room. There was 3 characters. There's one guy coming in to check in on me in a suit. There's a nurse who's caring for me, and then there's another guy
Huber's seen it.
who eventually comes into the room, who's kind of trying to poke and prod me to get me upset. But having gone into Resident Evil 7 VR and run away screaming, with my tail between my legs. So when I sat down, I'm like, I'm doing this against my better judgment. And she's like, there's one big jump scare, a couple little tiny ones.
Yeah.
But it's a slow burn, that demo. You can clearly tell, like, okay, the good stuff happens right after this. But I kind of like it being slow. You really get a sense of like you're being trapped in there. Is this something where I can leave, or is this something that's who are my friends here? And it has the Until Dawn decision making. So I'm almost always like a dumb nice guy in games. So I was like trying to be very polite. Like, I don't think I'm crazy, but maybe I am. Like, I'm willing to accept help, but you can like totally reject that. Be like, no, I don't trust you. I don't trust these people.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Great sound design. Lots of stuff happening like outside your cell that you can't see.
Cool.
A lot of great stuff prompting on movement and visuals. So like there was one time where my roommate stopped talking, and I went over to the window and looked out and into the hallway outside of my cell, and there was a guy there just taking notes. But when I actually got up and looked at him, they did a little scene outside, and so it was neat having things happen, like looking out the window and seeing the snow and the trees and stuff, and like have things happen only when I actually went out like to look at it. And so that's probably be a creepy world. I'm curious to see that story come together.
And it's in the Until Dawn universe.
Yeah, you are in the asylum that you were in at the end.
Cinematic
with the
universe now.
Yeah, the Until Dawn cinematic universe.
So I'm curious if that ties in.
Soon, and
I'm curious if it's if how much you would want to replay something like that. If you go through and make decisions that kind of take you in one direction, if it would be worth it to go back and check that out.
I think they said it's in like 1920 or something.
Oh, okay.
So it's like it's a prequel. Yeah, it's way before Until Dawn, but.
But fun to play VR games that mess. I think they're starting to get more and more of those now that really mess with your reality. So you see a photograph and look at it, and then big white flash. You see a flashback, not really sure what it means, and then you come back to reality, and someone's like right in your face, like what just happened, and it's up to you to decide, like, oh, nothing, no, that's fine, or like, no, I just had a crazy dream. Maybe you can help me understand what that was. And so I don't know how much of a payoff that will be down the road, but it definitely was creepy going into it. So that is something and looked great on PSVR. I think the tricky thing with horror on PSVR is it being the least graphically impressive VR system.
Yes.
When you go to pure black, there's a thing there. There's clearly a screen that's
just
right
close
there,
your eyes.
Where it's like, with playing the Vive as much as I have, like you just go to absolute, pure black. And so when there were darker environments, they were a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
And there was some of the textures kind of flickered a little bit. But like I said, sound design was great, story was great, acting was great. The eye lines I thought were really good. So
nice.
it's neat to have characters walk in and do something and then turn to you and like they're actually looking right at you. Now that Bossman's in the bathroom, I'm going to switch to another game, which will not be mentioned in the titles. But the other VR game that I played was Blood and Truth.
This looked awesome.
Was this the shooting
which is
one, right?
the I want to say Italian Job. That's the Wahlberg
It
movie.
looked like London Heist.
The London
Okay,
Heist. It's
okay.
the continuation of the London Heist. So these are the team that was responsible for the collection of games that comes with the PlayStation VR.
Okay.
And they said from their gauging the responses from the community, London Heist was by far the most popular demo in there, so they wanted to take that to the next level.
Yeah.
And it was a game, I don't know how difficult, if they made the demo a little bit easier. I watched someone play it before I went in, and so I kind of knew where the targets were coming from. It does have a little bit of that Time Crisis vibe where like it's not on rails, but you can make it that way, like you're moving from point to point. So if you're looking through a doorway and you see someone move from cover, you can hit a button and there'll be a little arrow on the ground and like, I'm going to walk toward that arrow now. But you can be shooting while you're walking. So if you see somebody get out of cover, it's like, oh, I'm going to move with them and be moving at the same direction they are so I can pop out and just like as they're going. And in some instances, there's one big shootout that was in a casino and I was behind a table and on the right hand, the X button or the circle button would go left or right, just not manually, but like to the next closest position. So it was neat that like it was definitely smooth, didn't feel ill at all, or it was very easy to get used to it. But at the same time, gave you a little flexibility. Like I was saying, like when you're like, all right, I know it's going to take me that long to move there, I can pop up and shoot. And at the end, they totally took over for me and was running, and it was just I was like on rails, like I was in a vehicle, and so you're just running in and taking guys out. And if you would shoot a fire extinguisher, it would go into slow-mo. So you'd like shoot that and then everybody would react and then you can just like headshot. And then at the end they had the bit that they showed in the trailer, which I was actually curious. I think they did like a little bit of teasing in the trailer where they had this guy who's like, hey, I don't have any information. And then you shoot him in the foot and he's like, you shot me in the foot. And I remember seeing that and being like, that's a cutscene. I don't think that's gameplay. And in the gameplay, he hit the floor a lot faster. So in the video you watch in the trailer, he's like, oh, I just reacted instantaneously from you shooting my foot in that exact point. And I was like, wow, that's really detailed. You shoot him in the knee, in the side, in the hip, in the foot, boom, he just like immediately just pancakes onto the floor. So it's like, it's close, it's like not as detailed or as natural it was. But the attitude was fun. It started outside in the rain, looked really pretty. The character animation was great. Like as much as as quickly as that guy hit the ground, his facial capture was incredible. Like so I'm curious if you get into those moments. I didn't play the London Heist, but they mentioned there's some fun characters in that you talk to pretty closely. So I'm looking forward to. Obviously has like kind of a Guy Ritchie, lock stock vibe.
There's something unsettling about you, like, playing VR and smiling to yourself and being like, now I'm going to try to shoot him here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, it's that gritty crime
Right.
thing, and so it was fun to live in that world. So the X and the circle button go left and right. It might have been the triangle. I don't know where they position those on the PlayStation Move, but the triangle slips your gun over just on your index finger, and you can spin it like in either direction.
That's funny.
So if you like got into an elevator, I'm just waiting. I'm like, okay, let's go. So it was very playful that way and very fun. Not super difficult though. Again, I saw someone go through, so I knew where a lot of the targets and surprises were going to come from. But I'm curious how difficult that is. I was stuck with just the one gun, and so while I was fighting guys that had machine guns, I couldn't grab them. So like I don't know if that'll change, or if you can pick your arsenal going in, or if that was just this demo. Didn't ask also where this was. It didn't seem like the very beginning, but maybe closer to the beginning of the game. So I don't know how long the game's going to be, but definitely had fun playing that.
Jeff, I got a question about this one.
Yeah.
So I did play London Heist, the same team. The end of London Heist gives you like a decision-making like scenario, and I'm wondering if they give you any indication that this will have like equal things where like you're making a call through your actions in VR, which I thought was pretty cool. Is there anything like that in this one?
Not in the demo, but
Okay.
the mission kind of did go awry. Like I went into the mission expecting one thing to happen, and then halfway through realized a character wasn't there, something wasn't going to work out, and so I was like, okay, well I'll do this now. So it had that vibe of spontaneity, but it was not on my part. It was no decision I made. So I wonder, if that carries over, or possibly if there's those decisions that you make in between levels. Yes, and then I played those, and I also played the Kara level, the new level from Detroit Become Human.
Okay.
And I played the first one like a billion times, seen other people play it a billion times, and so it was interesting watching a lot of people play this, and then getting near the end of PSX, I was like, well, I should, I've seen enough people do this. Let me go in and see if I can, how well I can do. I don't know. I guess I can talk about it, but I don't know if we talk about like what happens, because I definitely played it very differently than other people did. And I'm assuming if you've seen this, it's Kara's working for this family. There's this guy who lost his job to an android, so he's obviously hates androids, and takes all of his rage out on his daughter. He's a drug addict. It's like your absolute most typical example of like the abusive parent. And so it puts Kara in the situation of, she's the help, but at what point do you decide enough is enough? And it was interesting that didn't happen organically. Like you actually actively have to be like, no, I'm gonna get involved right now. So it's not like the game where like sets that up. And so after the fact, I saw people engage much earlier, like decide very early on, be like, no, you're screwed up. I'm gonna stop this. And at one point he's like, you stay here. So I was like, okay. And I didn't move for like a long time, and watched him like move around the apartment. And I'm like, they said not to move. And then finally decided like, I'm going to go upstairs and take care of her. And I was like, all right, I think I'm going to miss my chance. So I probably should like, engage now. But I don't know, potentially, earmuffs for 15 seconds if you don't want to avoid any spoilers for this game. I took him out. Cool. I got her out of the house, and he did not survive. And that was through a lot of mistakes I made just in the fighting him. And so it was interesting that like that was the mistake. That was what I suffered for not getting all of the prompts correct. That like I did get her out because they could tell that was my intent. But probably the cleanest way is to maybe rough him up a little bit, give him a headache, but get her out and get her to safety.
Quick next
because I definitely seen people do that were in the demo before me. But that was interesting. The decision-making process is interesting. I think the HUD and just how you discover things in that environment is very fluid. The writing, pretty basic as far as just like, I'm so angry, and the daughter's like, I'm sad. There just wasn't a lot of depth there. I'm hoping, because they said it's like not the necessarily quote unquote like very beginning of Kara's storyline, it is very close to the beginning, and so I wonder if this would seem like a tough game to show at events like this, because you don't want to spoil too much. You don't want people getting into the game and they're like, well, I've seen all of this stuff. But at the same time, it clearly is like chapter 1 going into a story, and so was not that complex and not that long. It was actually a pretty short chapter. Okay. So I'd be curious to see how replayable that game is once you're done with the whole thing. And very pretty. Character models are great. Yeah. And interesting, there's a lot of moments where they give you a chance to, and I think they might have done this in Heavy Rain. I'm not very experienced with the career of David Cage, but you can view it from her perspective. So there's one point where she was standing just dutifully, like as the android, just kind of standing there staring at the wall while they were having dinner. And if I wanted to, I could hold L1 to cut back and forth cutscene style between those two characters, or stand there as Kara and watch it from that perspective. Cool. And so I thought that was interesting, given that chance, and especially the replayability. So we'll see. But those are all of the other games. Sadly, my game that I'm most excited about, I did not get to play, and very few people got to play up until this point, which is Dreams. Dreams.
Yeah. Get on the desk for Dreams.
Get on the desk.
Dreams. I've long believed in the concept of this game. I had no idea when we were actually getting it. Like, a lot of people were nervous that they're like, I think Media Molecule is fading. They're like, I don't know if it's going to work out for this team because we haven't heard anything for this game in a while. Yeah. And it really seems like they gave them a lot of distance to make this game, a lot of time, patience, and I think from what we've seen, there's so much to talk about, but I think the big takeaway from me, having been infatuated with games like Disney Infinity, Little Big Planet, even like just goofing around with stuff like Project Spark, which somebody reminded me of the show. I was like, Project Spark, that's right. Is the HUD is so. It looks very intuitive. There were moments where he'd be like menu, and I'm like, I missed you. What just happened? But
we lost him.
It just seemed like that's why it's been taking so long. Is that I bet the HUD and the menus and what order they're in went through 5 billion different revisions before they finally got to this point. And so it's neat to see how careful they paid attention to the fact that when you're right in the moment, when something happens, you're trying to fix a jump or make a platform move or futz around with gameplay and wait and maybe like color and stuff like that, and then you think like, God, that music's bugging me, I want to make a quick adjustment to that music. It's not like I gotta leave, save the thing, boot up the music editor, wait for that to load. Like everything is in the world. So like if there's some element, you just open that window up while you're in the world, and like the editing software is there, the music software, the color, all that stuff. So and then each one of those singular elements you could just drill down to just crazy levels of detail.
Like when you say music editing software is right there,
yes.
like I kind of have a terrifying image. Is it at a top level? Like how much do you have to interact with right away before you start digging into the menus?
Well, the interacting in that game is like completely voluntary. Like that, I think that's the thing that's really exciting about it. And they actually track as a user of that game what you do. So if you find a user, you can see like this person just plays. Like they haven't built anything. And like, or maybe this person builds a lot, but they don't create a lot. So they don't create their own songs or elements or stuff. They borrow stuff that other people have built, but then make their own worlds with it. And so you think, oh, maybe this is somebody I want to reach out to and say, hey, check out my stuff, or maybe check out the stuff that they've built. Or if this is someone who just plays, maybe I want to reach out to them, send them a message on PSN
Ian,
and be like, hey, check out the thing I just built.
If I make a level, Ian, will you make music to it?
Sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, what does the music editor look like? Does it have tracks? And
yeah, it looks like and then you can grab the right edge and make the timeline longer. You can grab the bottom and drag it down to make more tracks. Again, it's crazy. You can bring, so if somebody made an instrument of like a drum, I can just grab that, throw it in, listen to it great. If I want it to be a little slower, drag it out, or like I can go even further into it, mod it, add echo, add stuff like that. If there's a kind of a mini game where it kind of reminds me of like a lot of the pads that DJs have now, where there's like all the sort of lights and colors and they're tapping them all. So they have this like rectangle, and different spaces of that will be different modded effects, and you move around it with the motion control. So you're like drum, echo, drum, drum. I think it might be with the shoulders buttons, because he was hitting the face buttons, but he could do the whole scale. So bum 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 bum, like all the way up. So you can just play whatever you want. Cool. And then if you kind of perform that and then listen to it later, and you're like, that one note's off. Go in, little piano comes up. You're like, nope, that key. Hold it that long. There we go.
Cool. Wow.
Zoom back out.
Overwhelming.
But you don't have to. Again, it's you're drilling down into all these things. So it's not like you bring it up and it's like, this is so messy.
But
you keep if you're like you want to focus on that one element, you can go into it and it gets crazier.
So you said they're watching you. If you don't make anything, or if everything you make sucks, like do they?
They take away trophies.
They do?
Yeah.
No, from other games.
Yeah. Sony allowed them to do that.
So, like, if you got a platinum in Bloodborne, that's gone.
They will take it away, yeah.
And it's like, you got to make something if you want to get this platinum trophy.
You better contribute.
You can, like most of these games, you can upload the stuff that you create, or you can just save it offline, so you don't have to, constantly be throwing all of your creations out into the world.
Jones, I do wonder why they mentioned we track what you do. Why would they mention that?
This was it. I don't know if they mentioned on the stage. They said this in the behind the scenes demo. I mean, why they told me at PSX, or why they added that to the game at all.
Why would they tell you that? Like, that's a feature?
Because I think people that play games like this are trying to find similar-minded people. They're trying to find people that also play this game like they do.
Got it.
And so I don't know if that would be akin to like playing a shooter and knowing what kind of weapon somebody likes to use, or but in this type of game there are so many different ways to play it. Like, it is conceivable, and I think they said we're expecting 98% of players to not build anything, to just be going into this game constantly.
Yeah.
And for people that are interested in this game but not interested in building stuff, there's all sorts of different crazy ways you can do that. You can be like, horror, just give me horror, and you just hit the filter, and like it just will throw all sorts of crazy stuff at you.
Perfect.
Or you'd be like, I want to see the most downloaded stuff, I want to see the most popular stuff, I want to see stuff picked by Media Molecule, and then or just whatever, just literally jumble it like crazy.
Is there a limit to how many things you can add? Is there like a cap? Like things cost a certain amount of,
Dream juice.
resources or whatever, and there's like a limit, or can you just keep?
I think the way it seemed is when you jump into the game for building, you have access to absolutely everything in the game and everything. So it's not like Little Big Planet where like, oh, I unlocked that thing, I can build with it now. I don't think they want to restrict people, but you do have similar, like in Little Big Planet, where you have like your little box home area where you could put stickers up and like decorate it. You have a little zone like that. And then I think as you go through the campaign, which they said is about 5 or 6 hours, which goes through those 3 different chapters, 1 noir, 1 fantasy, 1 sci-fi. Cool. When you're done with that, you get like trophies, and then you can put those in your own little home. So if like I go to your home, that might be indicative of how much progress you've made in the game. Cool. But I think you gain access to any and all assets.
Brandon, I have to ask, do you already have an idea for a dream?
Like 10,000 ideas.
Give me one. If you've got 10,000, give me one.
I have 8 different ideas because I want to make a world for each of the allies.
Nice.
Make a little Ben world, make a little Huber world.
Excellent.
You did that for Mario Maker. That was so cool.
Make a little Boston world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you do have to make a Jones world.
I'll make a Jones world at the end.
Wait, no.
I'll make it.
Yeah, one of the other allies should make a Jones world.
make it.
Yeah.
And then make a Sophie world, make an Amanda world, make it
Can I be a creative consultant on Sophie?
Well, it's the garage. It's in VR too, so it'd be fun to like build this garage and have put that up online and have people check it out. I'm also I think one of the reasons I'm really excited about this game that I didn't come to terms with until later is that I encouraged people from our community to play Disney Infinity with me, but that was an extremely expensive game. Yeah. And I was very understanding. Whenever somebody was like, hey, Disney Infinity's discounted, should I get it? I was like, I don't know who you are. I don't know, I don't know if you want to invest $100-$200 into this game and then be disappointed at the end of the day. Whereas I definitely think you get your money's worth for this game. This game looks crazy, especially if you wait for a while, they maybe discount it later. Yeah. Like this game is going to be unrecognizable from the game that launches next year, a year later when they just add so much stuff. I'm sure there's functionality that they're getting to a point now where they're like, all right, we got to launch this thing, that they'll cut that off and then maybe add that later.
So I got a question, Jones. So basically, do you think we'll be able to import physics? Do you think we'll be able to import like a 3D platformer character who jumps well and like skids and can like do dashes and things? And then we can customize how that character looks. Is that the level of like customization we have there?
I don't know how complex the movement and combat will be.
Okay.
One thing that I saw where I'm like, well, that's pretty crazy is one guy in their staff built little hammer people, and they would jump and like bang their heads down. So he built like a little level with a bunch of nails that were almost all the way hammered in, so the little hammers were like jumping around. I'm like, that's pretty specific. Like giving that thing that specific motion and the game recognizing that does damage, like that's an attack. And so I'm like, okay, like how, and we were running out of time with the appointment, but like that's my biggest concern right now is like, how does this feel? I haven't played it, is it floaty like Little Big Planet? Does it default to that? They've said before that you can change. I know you can affect the armature, so you can affect like how things bend in relation to other joints and potentially how heavy characters are, like how fast they swing and stuff like that. If you have the mic plugged in, you can add sound effects. You can make music yourself just by singing. You can add little things like I want to take make a Huber, make a Ben, take little sound bites out of the podcasts, like put them in through my laptop, upload those to the game.
Oh man!
So you guys say things as you're walking around.
Have they said when in 2018?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think I might have had a dream Saturday night that I thought they said early in the year, but they did not.
Okay.
We still have no idea. But yeah, it just.
Jones, you're really selling me.
It was neat to see people get excited about it. I'm wary of describing a game to people that has so many different ways to play it and potentially is so like unproven yet. Like until people get the control in their hands and get in there, like I have not yet. But it just seems like every question people throw at them, they're like, yeah, you can do that. Like you can export things apparently to like 3D printers or like other software. Like if you can export it to Unity, or it can go the other way. So you can design a character in a completely different software and then bring it into the game.
I didn't know about that.
And
that is crazy.
Bring it in.
And so but again, a lot of this is like they didn't demo that. Like they're just saying these things, and I'm sure this is stuff that they're testing. I'm sure also there are more things like that they will add more compatibility with other systems, and I'm sure they'll get a ton of feedback from their community. But
I just think of the licensing, Jones. Like you could use this as proprietary technology to import character models into Unity, and you just buy it for $60.
I don't know.
Right?
Well, also, what are they going to stop people from like, I made Wolverine and Wolverine's running around in my game? Like, are they going to be like, no, don't stop, don't do that? Or is there going to be some kind of limit when you upload something? Does it cross-check and like maybe like visually or listen to the music and see if like all of that stuff is.
I bet for music they can scan it pretty easily. I bet for adult content you're gonna get the hammer, but I bet you put Wolverine in there, I think you're okay.
I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, Little Big Planet, I remember being rife with 1-1 Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
yeah. So
it's fine.
It'd be interesting to see what the future of that game is going to be. But I was just so happy to see it there, see it working, see people excited, see people just kind of strolling by their stage and being like, wait, what? You know, just the complexity of the stuff that you can do. I can't wait to learn it. It's going to take me a while. That game's going to take you a full week, if not 2, to like get to be like, okay, I'm right. Now I could do my own demo of Dreams and get comfortable with how things go.
Little Big Planet takes 2 weeks. Little Big Planet takes forever to learn the rules.
And I said, Disney Infinity was expensive and this game was cheap. Completely forgetting the fact that like you need the camera, it's nice to have the mic. Like the VR obviously it brings a whole other element to that. I did ask him. I'm like, can you build something in VR that someone can play not in VR and vice versa? Like if someone built a world not in VR, could I look at it in VR?
That's a good question.
And they were like, that's what they said. They're like we have a clear obligation to meet VR. That is something that is important for the PlayStation 4. That's something that it seems like a no-brainer for a game like this. But they're like, it's not something that we are making huge strides in right now.
Yeah, because
it might not be there at launch.
I want my Dreams to have locked camera angles. You know what I mean? Like I think you're kind of giving something away sometimes if your game isn't designed for VR.
Correct.
Just thinking through this.
I hear that. Yeah.
I don't want you looking around in my cutscenes,
or like leaning over and seeing like parts of the world that you're not supposed to see, seeing the seams.
There's just like a Kyle that comes in when you're before the cutscene. He's like, "Don't look around. You stay right here. Yeah. No. You stay right there. This is my dream."
In fact, Kyle, you just inspired me. That's going to be my Kyle world. Is a game.
Very particular.
Is a game that like I'm gonna just gonna get like you're just gonna hear Kyle in the background echo like no. And you're like, don't open that door. No.
Chat says VR is not at launch. So that's
VR is not okay. That makes sense. Cool. But one of the just last little quick thing. One of the things they did that I thought was so impressive. And they did so fast, and it was something that was added to Disney Infinity 3.0, and I was like, oh, that's great. And the difference between how complex and time-consuming it was to do that in Infinity compared to this, there's a animation window that you basically bring up. It's one of like the main things that pop up in the initial menu, and you just click it to animate something, you grab the object, and then the moment you start moving it, it records it, and then you manually hit stop, and then it will remember that animation. So if you want to make a platform that moves, you just grab it, and then with the motion controls go, done. And then that's the thing it'll do. So he was listening to the music from the level, grabbed a tree, made the tree dance to the music because you could hear it, stopped it, cloned the tree, and then the whole forest was like for that
in
world.
sync with the music
In like 25 seconds.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool once you get super comfortable with that, adjusting stuff. A lot of the make stuff games that I have played have really hard rules for how things connect, and this game's like whatever. If you want to just jam that thing into that or just erase that whole door except for one tiny little part of it, go nuts. Yeah, I can't wait.
Sick.
That is it. That's my games.
That's it.
That was a good one to end on.
Yeah. Dreams.
Dreams.
So nobody's got anything? Checking the room one last time.
Yeah, that's it.
That is PSX.
One more disclosure and a closeout.
2017 PSX Access provided by PlayStation.
That was a good one.
That was a very good one.
That's very good.
Woo! Do you have anything else you want to say before we?
I don't know. Should we do
Bow
a wrap
out?
up about what PSX is and like our time there, or no?
I saw some people wanting to know about the meetup and
Oh, sure, yeah.
do you any last minute things to say about the Game Awards, Kyle? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah. Yes.
Secrets.
Nice.
I don't know,
Secrets.
like, no, I think like if we're talking about like the scoops and like the reveals, we'll save that for the podcast.
Are we gonna talk about the weird Friday night showcase thing on the podcast? Should we save that? Just our reactions
did
to
you
how
talk
bizarre
about
that
Frame
was.
Trap? Did you have a Hotake about how bad PSX was, the presentation?
No, we did not.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on the
like,
podcast.
yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say, Frame Trap is exporting right now. So
No, I think Ian's computer crashed.
Oh well.
Something bizarre and catastrophic happened, so I'll have to do it again.
Yeah,
Well,
What
he's
exciting.
exporting it again now. It's
like
coming.
Bizarre, catastrophic,
Something bizarre and
and
catastrophic
thrilling.
happened to the laptop that it was exporting on, but we'll do that again. I very much enjoy Friendship, but I think this episode in particular, the vibe was right. Like we had.
That's right. That's a good tease.
The flow was really happening on this episode. So I just am personally.
I think Huber's
happy
out
with
of
this one.
vibes right now.
Is that a vibes?
Are you out of vibes, dude?
No, I like sometimes coming around here to get the angle on you guys.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So sometimes we're like recording something and you just change your seating position so you can look at us better?
Sometimes I'll just settle into it.
Nice.
We had a wonderful
Widescreen
meetup at PSX. Are you counting the cards
Evil Within
for
one
Grandma?
right here.
Yeah, counting the cards for Grandma.
Letterbox.
Huber is counting the number of new characters who spoke.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, and so we'll shoot our betting results show tomorrow.
I had a horrible thing. I went to Disneyland last night with some of the allies, and one of them brought up a horrible truth. I was like, oh no. I counted the seconds to when Sean Layden came out on stage and sat down and put his fingers together, but I was not watching it at home. So I do not know when the camera cut to Sean.
It was a little later. It was like
No.
we didn't see him apart
Yeah.
and then cut to Layden hands together.
So,
Yeah.
He had him touching right when he exited the door.
Yeah, it's camera.
so
Is it camera?
It's camera.
It's definitely camera, 'cause that's the show.
We are
The
watching
showcase is the show.
We are watching the
Yeah.
show.
Jones watched the show. What Jones watched was not the show.
Are you going to trust my word over what you can see with your own eyes?
I'm just saying it happened in real space. That happened in a real
It's
event.
the
I should have taped to myself like the Zapruder film, like in the background. Just like, I got it. Look, if you enhance.
I think why we would say video is when we first see, and the we is
Yeah,
implied
we.
us at home. Yeah.
The judges.
Yes.
But you can look forward to that. That will be later this week. The betting results.
Yes.
Oh boy, lose sleep over that. And well, on the podcast we'll have more stuff to talk about from PSX. But thank you to everybody that made it out to the meetup. Apologies to people that could not make it out this time. We actually had some people that were at the PS meetup last year that could not make it this year, and some people that could not make it last year that we got to meet for the first time.
First timers.
Got to
It was
meet
very fun.
So much fun.
Got to meet the proprietor of JoJo Denko, which was a pleasure.
Man, some great stories.
Apologies to
from
people I was having a conversation with when I found out he was there. I was like, what? And just took off. Like,
One of the funnest things to yell is JoJo Denko. Just yell it.
JoJo.
JoJo Denko does something pretty wonderful, I believe, in the upcoming Easy Update that
Ooh.
people should be excited about.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. We got to play on Easy Alliance. That was fun.
Yeah, I had that out. I was. You got a winning streak there for a while.
Yeah.
But thankfully somebody took you down.
Trouncing the competition.
And there were lots of fun. I mean, was there any? There were lots of like interactive stuff. Like you loved the bear from Days Gone. Like they had the bodies hanging there. Like was
you
there
mean the
anything?
actual show floor?
Yeah.
The Days Gone booth was disturbing. It was freaky. There was bodies hanging. They looked realistic. I was waiting in line to meet the bear, and then some guy came with like a freaker tied up. And the freaker came in like yelling and scared me so hard. Just came in, she's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, because
They're like going through the booth.
I feel like that's what's mentioning is like PSX was there's a lot of booths that had no games to show, like Spider-Man, like God of War. So they just made them into little Disneyland sections.
Yeah.
Speaking of Disneyland, the actors from Detroit. The models that they had playing
That
androids.
was very frightening.
Yeah,
So
there was a lot of
cool.
freak
So
That was
stuff.
that messed me up. Yeah.
Which was kind of cool. It actually was impactful. They were for sale. They were in the windows, as you saw in one of the trailers. So it's like they we might buy them. You know, they were
No.
advertising themselves as androids.
I talked to one of them.
Ian talked to one of them.
Like for reals?
Check it out.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Upcoming Easy Update.
He spoke to me.
Ooh.
Nice.
What did he say? You'll find out. And you could get a little like fake, non-permanent tattoo of the little circle that they have. So it's funny to see some allies show up to the meetup. And I'm just like, oh, you've been androids this whole time. But yeah, I wonder if if you don't have a demo to show, if the demo's super old. If I go to a PSX, this is something I'm thinking about a lot. If I go to PSX and it's just demos and there's none of this playful get in line, get a free T-shirt, meet some actors or something like. I'm only going to be able to get in line to see so many games, and I'm assuming the lines are longer. Like judging by the Spider-Man booth, which was just a couple photo sessions that you could have. I imagine if there was a Spider-Man demo, that line would be a lot longer. And so if you go to PSX and it's just game demos, you're likely to see maybe like 4 or 5 things in a day, depending on how long the lines are.
I think longer.
It
Or if
was
you
over
have
from
these-
10 to 10. It was a long
Yeah,
day.
it goes to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have these interactive elements, is that kind of like a happy medium, where it's like we
No.
don't have a demo to show for Days Gone, but we want to do something, and something that you're going to have actually time to
No,
participate
Jones,
in.
because people were pissed.
Were they? Okay.
Talked to so many people that waited in line for the God of War booth, and you go through, and it's just some like murals on the wall with some VO. Everyone was so mad.
It was like lore, right? It was
Seven
just,
different people just were like, "Oh man, I was like, what have you been playing?" They're like, "Oh man, I wasted like an hour and a half in that damn God of War line. Like, don't do
sucks.
it."
That
Like,
sucks.
multiple people
Yeah.
were bummed about that.
Yeah.
So
And they could have been playing those cool games we talked about for the last 2 hours, you know?
There were so many cool little
maybe
games
if they had
there.
showed some of those games in the
It would have raised
PlayStation
awareness.
Present,
'Cause that's the thing
then
is,
people would have
there
found
were
those
so
games
many
and played
people
them.
watching that live on Twitch.
Yeah.
You know, it's an opportunity. You got to use those opportunities.
It's
Could
frustrating.
you play the Weird Dolphin VR game?
Didn't see it.
They
Mars
showed
and
that,
Jupiter?
but you can't play Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah.
Jupiter and Mars,
Jupiter
maybe.
and Mars. Oh, so yeah, potentially lots to learn. We'll get into it more in the podcast this week. But thank you to Daniel Bloodworth, who's off camera, Brad Ellis, who's off camera, Ian Hink, who's right here. I can just hit him. That's Ian Hink's shoe.
Ian, can we get a computer update? Is it okay?
Yeah, it restarted. I restarted it. I think that something happened with the export. It got messed up.
Won't happen this time though.
I'll have to re-export it when I get home.
We will get you Frame Trap as soon as possible.
And just thank you
Audio's
to
done.
all the
Nice.
patrons who came, because it was seriously
course.
so amazing.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
overwhelming. Just getting to hang out, spend time with
Lots of
all
love.
of you. It was just a room full of love for 5 hours, so it was great.
Yeah.
6 hours.
Yeah, I left at like 11:30.
We went past midnight, baby.
I was there till 1 in the morning.
My,
We didn't leave.
my legs were like, I could barely stand. I was like, all right, I gotta go. 11:30.
That was like a 17-hour day.
Yeah. It was long.
PSX is a jolly time. I look forward to the next one. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it all up. That is our coverage of PSX. There was obviously more to check out, so we encourage you to reach out to us. Let us know what you checked out. Let us know if any of your opinions differ from ours. And be sure to check out Frame Trap and Easy Update and the Easy Allies podcast, which we will
And Hubris
be
Syndrome.
recording tomorrow night after our regular group stream. Come back tomorrow at 6 p.m. PT.
No.
Hubris Syndrome.
And Hubris Syndrome.
Tomorrow night
And the betting special.
is not a regular group stream.
Oh, no.
It is highly irregular, baby. Tomorrow night
3 previous times.
is the Hall of Greats. This is where Easy Allies determines which video games actually are the best video games. When we say that is one of the greats, it must belong in the Hall
But it's
of
only
Greats.
games
From
before
Nintendo.
like 1995.
It must be before 1995. It must come
Yeah.
from Japan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And be on a Nintendo platform.
Yeah.
Right. We have very specific rules.
We have a process. A game must earn its way into the Hall of Greats. It can't be shoved in. It can't be said, of course that's all
Right.
great. It should be just shoved in. No. Every game must earn its way into the Hall of Greats. It must prove why it is great. And so each of the 9 allies makes a 5-minute speech for that game. That game must survive a 5-minute cross-examination.
Survive is the right word.
Yeah, for the rest of the room.
Yeah, but like, who cares?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really rough. It's
So if you're watching this tonight and you enjoyed us having a civil discourse here
Yeah.
and looking forward to the opinions being expressed by the other allies, if that wasn't your vibe, we invite you to tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the Hall of Greats induction,
Yeah.
where we will pick 2 games to be added to the current 6-game roster of the Easy Allies Hall of Greats. And more streams, more shows this week. We are Easy Allies. We're supported on patreon.com/Easy Allies. We have our YouTube channels, Easy Allies and Easy Allies Plays. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, also all over the place. EasyAllies.com. You can go and find our schedule in your time zone and our wonderful forum where our wonderful allies go and chat about all sorts of stuff, including PSX and the crazy opinions that we just dropped. That will do it. Are you ready, Blood?
Yeah.
You got your finger on the trigger?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon.